gosh. No, I mean, I feel like if I start talking about...
Go.
But no, as in during this whole process, we just saw and read and heard innumerable things that people thought this film was about. And just, it was very telling. It was amusing, but also heartbreaking, but also just very telling about the things that people were picking out in the film and going like, ye cheez galat hai, ye cheez kharab hai, or assuming that this is what the film is. It was very telling for me. It was like a human anthropological study that I was...
Cast members को directly phone आता था या Illuminati साइम के through पैसे भेजते थे?
नहीं, it was like a top-down operation. So yeah, that's how it happened.
अगर ये उन मौलवियों ने clip निकाली ना, सिर्फ ये 4 seconds.
I would not be surprised.
Proven. Evidence. हेलो अस्सलाम वालेकुम, वेलकम टू अनदर एपिसोड ऑफ द पाकिस्तान एक्सपीरियंस। और बड़े लोगों ने फरमाइश की तो इसलिए हमारे पास लाहौर से लाइव नहीं सामने बैठी हुई है रास्ती फारूक, स्टार ऑफ जॉयलैंड, एक्टर एक्स्ट्राऑर्डिनरी इज हियर विद अस। कैसी हैं आप?
आई एम गुड, हाउ आर यू?
गुड। मैंने आज आपको खास एक वजह से बुलाया है कि लोग,
व्हाट इज योर एजेंडा?
माय एजेंडा टुडे इज कि लोग बोलते हैं आपने लम्स से पढ़कर अपने माँ बाप के पैसे जलाए हैं, सो आई वांट मोर पीपल to come on the podcast.
My family will be very upset. This is a sore point.
Also, in her bio, one of her achievements is that she's Shehzad's younger sister.
Yes, I am Shehzad's younger sister.
तो क्यों पैसे जलाए आप?
Well, okay, here's the thing though. Like मैंने foreign पैसे नहीं जलाए. I would like to just add, मैंने काम किया 4.5 साल मैंने काम किया और मैंने अपनी पढ़ाई लिखाई को use किया, इस्तेमाल किया. But then I've always wanted to act. It was a thing that I've been doing since I was very young, like school plays and all of those things, even in like army schools and then private schools and all of that. And so I really liked it. I was very good at it. And then, but I was in college and I was studying serious things. And so there was always that pressure, you know, this should be like a side thing that you should do and it shouldn't be like your whole life thing. And I think it took me some time to also accept that as a part of my identity, because for the longest time I was like, no, I'll do like one project a year, you know. And and now like that does cost me, because I've realized I don't have a big body of work, and that affects how much, for example, I can charge for, you know, my work and other things as well. So I do regret it, but I also understand that at that point, given that I didn't have that kind of support from my family, it would have been very difficult for me to go like, no, I'm skipping college and I'm doing this. And also like, where was I going to go? You know, like what kind of work could I possibly have done in Pakistan? There would have been the dramas route, and I don't think I would do that. I haven't done it yet. I don't think I will do it. It's not meant for me. So yeah, but eventually I think एक point पे आके I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is something that I absolutely love and I think I'm good at. So I would like to like take out a biggest portion of my life and dedicate it towards this. But मुझे ताने सुनने को मिलते हैं, बिल्कुल सुनने को मिलते हैं. It's like, which is really funny because I think the general perception is कि, you know, तुम पढ़ी लिखी हो और तुम ये कर रही हो. And it's like, well, I mean, look at all over the world. I mean, you don't have to be uneducated to act. Like, that's not a thing, but
so I feel और भी ज़्यादा ज़लील होता हूँ, because comedian तो is an insult in our country, right? So when people find out कि wait, तुम लम से पढ़ाई फिर क्यों तुम ये करते हो? It's a nightmare, right?
But you know, it's one of the things that I would love to do. I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, okay, it's a new year. Like, what would I want to try out? And I was like, I'd love to do stand-up. I think it's one of the, like, it's the toughest thing in the world, in my perception. I'd wanted to do it. I've been wanting to do it for some time, but it's terrifying. I feel like you require like
Karachi mein.
Not that long. But I mean, are you going to coach me?
No. We'll make you do a set this Friday.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Where?
We're done. You're doing a set this Friday.
I can't. No, save me. No.
Yeah. It's like swimming, right? When people are standing at the edge of the pool and they're like, मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा, और कोई coach आता है और यूं धक्का दे देता है.
Yeah.
It's literally like that.
But it is terrifying. Like, what if
What's the fear? That you'll not be funny, right?
Yeah,
Nobody's
like,
funny their first time.
Really though, like
That's like saying कि मैं मतलब मुझे क्रिकेट खेलनी है और मैं पहली बॉल शोएब अख्तर की फेस करूंगा अगर मैं बोल्ड होगी ऐसा जाहिर बात है बोल्ड हो जाओगे. That's your first ball. Obviously it's the first time you're picking up the bat.
I know it's gonna be rusty and it's gonna be bad, and I get it. I respect.
That's a cool name, Rasti Farooq.
Don't do it. That's
it's been done.
Oh my god, I cannot even tell you. It's
People
been done.
used to call you Rasti Farooq.
People used to call me all kinds of things. I've been called Rashid as well by a school teacher. I don't know why they thought my name was Rashid and then they called me Rashid. I've been called Rusty. I've been called Rastafarian. I've been called all kinds of things. But Rusty is
not bad. Yeah.
It's not. Tabi should be credit goes to him. But a bunch of things. But yeah, Rusty is like the oldest one.
अच्छा उस guilt पे वापस आ जाते हैं because I feel like a lot. Have you seen Tamasha? इम्तियाज अली की movie है.
No, I have to confess as an actor. Like I feel like a huge imposter because I've barely seen any films. Like you could ask me right now, just name like 10 films and I wouldn't have seen like 8 of them or 8.5.
You've seen Mulan, you've seen Gladiator.
I mean Mulan though, of course, it's one of my favorites, but Gladiator.
You've seen Joyland.
I've seen,
you've seen Darling. There were 4 movies.
That's true. But I haven't seen some of the biggest ones. So yeah, my answers are probably going to be no. Like I saw Godfather like how many years ago? 6 years ago, you know, so not like, you know, I'm kind of new to this whole, which is sad because I mean, I'm an actor. I should be watching films and I should be taking notes. And like I discovered Daniel Day-Lewis only very recently, like a year ago.
Through which film?
Oh gosh, see, now I won't remember. The one with Paul Dino in it. Paul Dino, right? That's his name. I don't even the one in which he's a miner, like he mines oil. He digs for what's oh gosh.
I think there's somebody who's watching this podcast right now who's like,
like losing their mind. I know. But
it's fine. I don't think you need to, right? Like वो आपकी instincts hone हो जाती हैं खुद से. आते हैं पूरे process में पहले आते हैं. पहले वो guilt का जो element है ना, I really want to get into that. Yes. That's the reason I mentioned Tamasha as well. कि we all this is Irfan Khan ki Life of Pi maybe quite similar line hai, but I've also realized that life is a process of shedding more than taking on things which when you're young and ambitious you really want to do a lot of things, but now I realize you just got to unlearn so much. So this idea कि नहीं आपने तो LUMS से पढ़ा है तो अब तो आपको आप कैसे ये कर सकते हैं, how can you allow yourself to be an actor, how can you allow yourself to be a comedian now that you've done this? Society will expect so much from you and a job, and वो एक इतना well trodden path है that the notion that you can take the road less traveled by, even if psychologically that's what you believe in, right? If somebody asks you, you'll be like, of course it's not an issue, anybody can do what they want, but वो सीपन नहीं होता at the end of the day where you're like, yes, other people can do what they want, but for me I have to prove all these things, and if I want to live my dream I have to moonlight it. So I have to do my 9 to 5 and then वो 5 से 10 आपका टाइम है, उसमें अगर आपने कुछ करना है तो कर लें हॉबी की तरह, बट ये तो करना ही करना है ना, ये कैसे नहीं कर सकते आप?
No, and like I personally feel like you get one life, right? And if you're lucky enough to be talented in several different ways, and if you can wear different hats and do different things, then you should. That's excellent. Like a lot of people aren't able to do that or can't do that or perhaps don't have that capacity or skill or whatever, but if you do, then you should. Like very early on I was also pushed into the direction of like teaching, because I don't know, some teachers of mine were like, no, you'd be like school ki koi presentation up there and everybody's like, wow, you are so engaging and good. and I think I also enjoyed it. Like it's a really stupid story, but I was in 5th grade, and 5th grade mein aap kya kar rahe hote ho, right? You're just being stupid and playing around or whatever, but I made an entire school, imaginary school, and I enlisted my friends as students, and I was the principal and the teacher, and I would give them home assignments and check and grade, and I had like little awards and all kinds of those things. So I did have that like penchant for wanting to teach, and I knew that I would do it, but very early on I decided that this is something that I would do later on in life, and I would want to use like my early years where I have more stamina or energy or, I don't know, creative drive to, you know, do something different or do as many things as possible.
So you made an imaginary school where
I
all
did.
the students were your friends.
It was called the Crystal School. It was really
So how old were you when you started therapy?
very late, very late. But yeah, it was.
They will be my friends in my imaginary
I don't know why they stuck by me, because I was like, I said, just think about it. You're in class with your school friends. One of them decides that they're starting a school. Zabardasti tumhe school ke andar dal diya, and then you have to do your
bola mere dost bhi hote.
Yeah, and then you have your actual school work, right? And then this person is giving you extra work
you
on top.
assigned homework.
Sis, I made like entire handwritten assignments and work and school work because I loved grading and I wanted to grade. So I subjected them to this misery, and they would do extra homework and like give it to me, and then I'd grade it. It was serious.
The anxiety kicking over you that
I
you're going to
know.
slap the chai and then go flying
I
on
get
a
very
pillow.
animated.
Bichara. No,
I do.
it's the sign of a thespian.
Thespian, wow. Not a lot of people use that word. I love that
Everybody use in the community.
Oh.
In our community.
Of
then,
intellectual
it's-
people.
it's-
Yes.
We can use it. Other people can't call us. It's our T word.
T word.
तो हाँ ये आपने फिर कैसे शेड किया 4.5 साल where were you working?
I was working at this wonderful, wonderful place that goes by several names. It started as Engage, then it was Shehr-e-Pakistan, then it was Puffball, then it was Hashia.
Rafat के साथ.
Yeah. It's, by the way, I have to do this. I'm so sorry. I will do this because it's been bugging me for some time. But you did a podcast with him.
Too.
Yeah,
Love him.
the first one I remember, which was back in COVID times, I think, because it was over video. Excellent podcast. But throughout, you called him Arafat, and his name is Arafat.
He didn't correct me.
I know he didn't, because he does these stupid things. He just doesn't correct people. But like if somebody mispronounces my name, like usually I get pronounced Rasti because people think it's single A, so it's Rasti, but it's Rasti. You have to stretch the A. Please stretch the A. So
Editor, ये सारा काट देना. I don't like. Samir, please remove all these things.
But yes, I have worked with Arafat.
Arafat, you should have corrected me.
It's still wrong.
Arafat.
Arafat. Yeah,
I'm right.
Yeah. Now
Yasser Arafat.
Yeah. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He should have just been like, I've named after Yasser Arafat.
Yeah, but
Sorry, Arafat. I'm really sorry. Apologies.
But it's all good.
Yeah.
But
So you used to work at Puffball.
yes, Puffballs, as a lot of people also call it. Yes.
That's what I did.
Yeah. But so that's where
and you worked on that movie Swepe.
yes, I worked on Swipe and Shehr-e-Tabassum.
Why am I like this? Why
are you doing
am I
this?
like this? अच्छा नहीं
I will
ना
not return to your podcast.
Joyland की बात कर ले.
Yeah, oh my god. Oh.
This is a concession. मैं लैंड को भी खराब कर सकता था, but ये फैमिली पॉडकास्ट. Allah. So Shehr-e-Pakistan.
Yes, so
but that's also like really good creative work, right?
I mean, it was, which is why I said it was a wonderful place, because I'd majored in literature and minored in history, and even when I did that, I was a humanities kid, so even like I'd gone to LUMS, which was great for my folks and my family, but then they were like, "Tum humanities kar rahi ho, hota kya hai?" And then usse tum kya padha, like teaching karogi, kya karogi? And so when I finished, even I was like, well, I mean, what do? I don't like, I know a lot of people go like, oh, but you can teach, but I don't want to do that right now in my life. So what am I going to do? How am I going to utilize what I've learned and, what I'm good at?
तो फायदा हो गया ना. Your elder sister went to LUMS and she was like, अच्छा चलो मैं एक दरवाजा खोलती हूँ ताकि 4 और दरवाजे हो जाएं. She was what? Econ and Paul?
She was anthro.
So that's also humanities.
Yeah, it's humanities.
तो था ना कि
It's
हाँ.
humanities, that's true. But so I saw this internship poster online back when it was Shehr-e-Pakistan, and we were doing civic and literacy work and all of that. So I applied as an intern, and then I just stuck around for like 4.5 years. And then over time we evolved because, we were basically taking these very dry, dull things like, democratic literacy or, constitutional literacy. And we were making interesting, fun, animated explainers on things like that. And then when our team grew and we got some fabulously talented people from all over Pakistan, and then our animation became really, really good. So we were like, okay, why don't we kind of make a little foray into fictional films? And that's when Puffball came around and we started making writing, and so it's an all in-house thing. So we write our own films, and then we animate them, and then we score them. Then I do like 7 voices voice acting for the films, and then we'll like rope in like one of our animators or somebody.
The announcement voice in Shehr-e-Tabassum is you, right?
The announcement voice is me. The mom is me. A random character is me. The protagonist who's running around breathing because it's a first person perspective. So that is me. In Swipe, I'm the interviewer, and then like because the character walks through the city and you hear like other voices of people, a bunch of them are me. So
nice.
Yeah. So
Shafad bhi hai na?
Sorry, who?
Shafad?
Yes, Shafad was in Shehr-e-Tabassum, I think. Yeah.
Love Shafad.
Yeah. And Sana Jafri and all of these people, like friends. And, they keep, I'll call them and be like, yo, we're doing it. Can you come in? And so they voiced like lots of other explainers in videos of ours as well. But yeah, so when I was working there, I ended up using... Well, I mean, you have to understand like the specific kind of work environment that we had. So we would be working on like very serious things, but trying to find like a creative solution to those things, which is a really wonderful place to be. And it was also immensely collaborative. So हम एक कमरे के अंदर बंद होते थे, and वहाँ पे आपके animators भी हैं, illustrators भी हैं, आपके researchers भी बैठे हुए हैं, and everybody is just kind of contributing to this pool of ideas. And we're writing together, and if like Hasib, who's our creative director, wonderful, I mean, just a brilliant animator. If he's, making something, he's also like really, really open to people kind of, chiming in and being a part of his process. So everybody was just always involved in what was going on. And so I ended up doing a lot of writing for our films. I ended up producing our films, which is also really wonderful. I never thought I'd end up doing something like that, especially, producing animated films given that we had two offices, one in Lahore and one in Pindi. But our team has always been really lovely as well. Mashallah say, we've just always attracted very like enthusiastic people, just immensely talented, enthusiastic people. So it's a lot of fun working with them as well. So I was there for 4.5 years, and then Joyland came along.
So you didn't do a soul-crushing job at least?
No,
like
thank God.
Corporate?
No, sis, not at all. Like, I remember being in LUMS.
No, sis.
No. Hell no.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, but I swear, like, I remember being in LUMS and being the only person in my group of friends who loved going to her classes. Like, everybody else would be like, yeah, I don't know, some management science or financial course or whatever. And I'd be like, what are you talking? And then, like, just... mad about my
run the literature department.
He wasn't running it at the time, but he was a very important part of it. So I took some of my like best courses with him as well.
Nice. Bilal Tanveer, whenever you're in Karachi next, please come
I'm
to
sure
the
he'd
podcast.
love to be on this.
I've spoken to him.
Yeah, so kya kehte hain? Yeah, so I loved all my readings. I was a really like nerdy kid as well. So I would love, like, I spent a lot of time in the library just reading. And then I would love my classes as well. And the same thing happened like when we all graduated and then we were working. Most of my friends hated their work, and I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna work. So
कल ही मैंने एक editor को Shehr-e-Pakistan की एक video भेजी है, and I'm like, I want to do stuff like this.
Which one was it?
Is it the constitutional rights?
The old one. Yeah, that's one of our first ones.
Yeah. Then he gave me a quote. I was like, नहीं, अगर ये सस्ते में animate सिर्फ text वाला कर ले. Text वाला मजा नहीं.
Yeah, people. I think there's a misunderstanding. People go like, animation is not that expensive, or it's just motion graphics, and it won't be. But it really is. It really is. Especially the kind of animation we do, which is, I mean, in the beginning we were doing a lot of motion graphics for Shehr-e-Pakistan, but then when we got into Puffball, we just did hand-drawn 2D frame by frame. That's hella's expensive.
Swipe के लिए तो हमने एक पूरी podcast की थी with the animator, where we went frame by frame के process क्या है literally.
Yeah.
And it's insane, but it comes out at the end, you see.
Yeah.
कौन सा था favorite literature course?
Oh boy, there were quite a few. I think, well, I took fiction writing workshop with Bilal Tanveer. I took it and then I TA'd it the next time around. So that was a lot of fun. I've always loved writing. I've been doing a lot of writing since I was a kid. It used to be really crappy when I was a little kid. Just like really cringy, like soppy stories. But I had like a giant pile of diaries as well, and I would like name my diaries and they would have a character, and so just like really, really into writing. So when I got to LUMS,
parents को जल्दी therapy भेज देना चाहिए. The signs
all
are
the sore points. Yeah, but
signs were all there.
Hey.
मतलब मेरे भी हम सब पाकिस्तान में अगर कोई आर्ट कर रहा है ना तो उसको थेरेपी जाना चाहिए, because something has to be wrong with you to in a society like this to be like, oh, here are my vulnerabilities. You
Yeah.
know what society thinks are the worst things in the world.
Yeah.
Let me show them to the world.
Let me write them up really beautifully and like present it.
So wo take your broken heart and turn it into art wali baat hai.
Oh,
So
boy.
it comes from a place of ke I relate. Mera bhi yahi scene tha.
So fiction writing, and then a couple of other, but mostly all literature ones, like a couple of history ones as well. There was a course on the Cold War. A shout out to Dr. Ali Raza from LUMS. Like any and every course that I took with him was just exceptional. Exile by Mariam Wasif, just a lot of fun. So yeah, plenty of good.
And what's your favorite things to read? What are your thoughts on the Scatter here is too great?
Oh, that's a Bilal Tanveer book. It's really funny because I remember I was still in college when he came out with it. It was an early manuscript or something, and he shared it with me over an email. And then many months later, I was emailing him back about it, and I misquoted the name. I said, "Yeah, your book. There is too much scattered around here. It was very good." And I was like, "What did I do?" But
that's the moment she decided कि अब कोई किसी का गलत नाम लेगा ना तो उसकी podcast पे जाकर मैं
boy,
that was the moment.
No, it wasn't my finest moment.
I will never make this mistake.
You shouldn't misquote somebody's book title.
Somebody's book title.
Yeah, I know. That's like somebody. What did somebody call Joyland? It was really funny. It was something really silly, like Drats. I forgot. Would have been funny.
Gulabo.
No, something even worse. Like I forget now. But yeah, don't do that. But what did I think of it? I think, to be honest, I don't remember much of it. But what I do know is that for his as a debut book, I thought there were some bits that were really lovely. But I remember having a conversation about Bilal Tanveer. I think he wrote about it himself later on as well. Either he can find faults within it as well himself, and that's true. Like anybody's first big thing, it can't be perfect. But I thought as a debut book, it was quite tender, quite lovely.
Since we started talking about 2023, मैं 2023 का तो नहीं सोचा. इनफैक्ट मैं कल रात ही पहली दफ़ा सोच रहा था कि मैंने अच्छा साल करना क्या है. Let me put it all down. मुझे बहुत टाइम बाद वो 4 AM मीनिया हुआ कल रात. तो मैंने notebook उठाकर
and
I put it a lot down, but that's besides the point. 2022 का मेरा जो major lesson है, which is progress, not perfection. So I've been very like, अच्छा नहीं अगर ये करना है तो you have to do it right, to the extent के अगर laundry भी आई है ना, I'll put it on the sofa because I'll be like, no, now I have to clean the cupboard to make sure that all the socks are in the right place and all. And unless that happens, I would rather have half of the bed with the clothes right out of the laundry. Yeah. Whereas एक middle ground हो सकता है कि अच्छा let me just put them in the cupboard because मैंने अभी जो है उससे तो बेहतर है.
Yeah.
But that's not how my mind works. And that's with anything, right? So even with theatre, I did my master's in theatre from Brooklyn College.
I did not know this.
Yeah. And then I came back and everywhere, right? Like न्यूज़ आर्टिकल्स ये वो लाइक अच्छा शहजादा है ये होगा एंड माइक ड्रॉप मेरा वहाँ ब्रॉडवे पे भी प्लेस प्रोड्यूस ब्रॉडवे पे नहीं ऑफ ब्रॉडवे टाइम स्क्वायर
ऑफ ब्रॉडवे भाई दैट्स आल्सो pretty big. Okay.
I mean technically on the road that's called Broadway but when you say on Broadway you mean the huge theaters so which is why it's off Broadway. तो वो इतना प्रेशर था कि I just like it was a monkey that I couldn't get off my back so I did nothing. Where I was like, अच्छा जो भी करूँगा वो इतना अच्छा होना चाहिए कि it has to be better than anything that's ever been done.
Yeah.
So I did nothing. Yeah. And now I'm like, नहीं कुछ तो कर लेते. So I get that 100%. Yeah. And that's really good. People need to get things out.
Yeah.
Especially with art, if you wait, something's perfect.
Yeah.
It won't happen. Get it out, things will improve.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I made like a mental note about this myself as well because I started so last year, end of last year, somebody approached me and they were like, hey, why don't you write something of your own? Because at Puffball, I wrote collaboratively with Arafat and a bunch of other people, but I've always been into it. So they were like, why don't you write something of your own if you have like a story in mind? And I did have something in mind. And I had actually written something about it which got published in a magazine, but it was like it wasn't like a fictional piece. It was like a satirical like essay, even that's a bit of a stretch, but it was still something. Then they were like, why don't you turn it into like a series, for example, right? And I was like, I can do that. That'd be fun. And the idea really was like, interesting and exciting. But then I sat down, right, and I started typing, and I was like, I hate this. I hate everything. Like I wrote 4 pages, and I was like, "Ye potty hai." Like I hate it. And then, and then I realized I was paralyzed. I paralyzed myself because I was like, no, it has to be. And then I was like, and then other thoughts, right? Like I was like, I haven't watched enough movies. I should probably sit and watch YouTube essays or like breakdowns of famous films and plots. And मैंने अपने आप को इतना confused कर दिया. And then I was like, no, but like I haven't written anything before, so like I should probably start with something small. And then I was supposed to have written like a little bit of something up till now, but वो एक document मेरे Google Drive में पड़ा हुआ है untouched, and I'm like no, when I will revisit it with like fresh thoughts, and when I start it needs to, you know, like something needs to start clicking, and then वो एक go में मुझे लिखना चाहिए. But I mean it's probably not going to happen that way. I mean, Saim took 7 years to write Joyland, so you know, creative things take time and energy, and you like plenty of drafts, and I have to remind myself that you know, I'd rather like keep producing things like consistently than like kind of paralyze myself with that idea of like perfection.
Your life is getting drunk on ideas, and the first draft is you at the end of the night putting your finger down your throat trying to throw up. The first draft literally needs to be vomited out of you, and you're like, I hate it, but it needs to be out of my system.
Yes.
वो जब मैं yeah, literally first drafts इस तरह होने चाहिए. It's all in the rewriting.
Yeah.
It's all in the rewriting. Like even with this podcast, right? अभी कल मुझसे पूछ रहा था कोई कि मैं स्टूडियो में आके सारा इक्विपमेंट और सारी चीज़ें देखना चाहता हूँ, that all I need. I'm like, these things that I have are after 3.5 years. जब podcast शुरू की थी ना intro था ना स्टूडियो था, कुछ भी नहीं था. मतलब like as things happened, we figured out how we want to do the podcast. We figured out intro आना चाहिए, clips आनी चाहिए, and it happened along the way. If I started thinking कि नहीं ये सारी चीजें होंगी तो फिर मैं podcast करूँगा, it's also like self-defeatist.
Yeah, it is. No, finesse will come like with time, and we just need to be like kinder to ourselves. But you can't help it, right? Because we consume so much. We're constantly watching things, and we're constantly comparing. So it's when you're indulging in something creative, you can't help but like compare and be like, oh, but you know, I've seen this, or I've heard that, or I've read this, and that moved me a certain way. And is this doing the same, or how do I get it to do the same? And so, you also need to find like your own particular flavor or your own particular way of evoking the thing that you want to evoke, or saying the thing that you want to say. And that needs time, and it also needs like lived experience. So I think that's why I believe like you like build your resources, build your lens, build your like goggles that you observe the world with. You amass all of that information, and then ahista you put it down.
It's also a muscle, right?
Yeah.
So this paralysis by analysis that you're talking about, 100% relate. That's me. But उससे फिर ये होता है कि वो जब paralysis prolong हो जाए and it's gone for a couple of years, you feel like you've lost the muscle. So now I'm like, no, I could have written a better play 3 years ago, even though my lived experiences are much better. But I haven't written a play in like 4 or 5 years.
What was the last play that you wrote? What was it called? What was it about? What did you do with it?
Last, कुछ भी नहीं. वो we did some table reads and that never got produced.
What was it called?
I've forgotten. Last published play, I did a riff on Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. It's called The Inherited Journey. So जब 1971 हुआ था, a lot of people who migrated that way towards East Pakistan, 1971 migrated back to India. So the notion of God that exists in Samuel Beckett's Waiting for Godot, I sort of transpose that into the notion of the nation, which the search for home that we long for in Pakistan, which is that हबीब जाले का भी एक शेर है ना कि विरसे में हमें ये गम है मिला, इस गम को नया क्या लिखना. So that inherited, कि ये विरसे में हमें मिला है कि मुल्क क्या होगा, nation क्या होगा, and from one generation to the other it's just being inherited, and we're just in that lost search. That's the last published short play I wrote.
It sounds very serious. Was it very serious?
It's absurdist.
Okay.
So
I mean,
it starts from nowhere, it ends nowhere, it goes nowhere. So most people are like, क्या point क्या था इसका?
Yeah. But so you did table reads for it, but it didn't go anywhere?
Yeah. Boy, like no, all these things need to be in place for me to do it.
Yeah. let's just pledge with our chais, okay?
Cheers.
That we're not gonna do this to ourselves, okay? No, we didn't. There we go.
मुझे बहुत डर लगता रहता है गिर जाएगी.
Okay.
Interesting segue. मैं even जब मैं Joyland देख रहा था, this auntie behind me was like, अच्छा इसका point क्या था? Actually no, कमली जब मैं देख रहा था, where these aunties behind me were like, तो point क्या था? कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. Like you go out of a movie and you're like कि मुझे क्या message क्या मिला? कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. Like what was I supposed to get out of it?
Yeah.
Why do you think our audiences, or what do you want to say to our audiences who have sort of been conditioned in a way to think कि आप propaganda देखने जा रहे हैं, आप agitprop देखने जा रहे हैं. Like when I go and see a piece of art, I have to come out with a prescription. It's like a visit to the doctor as opposed to letting myself feel something.
Yeah, and stay with something even if it doesn't make sense, and stay with something even if it's making us deeply uncomfortable. Man, I feel like you've spoken about this on your podcast so many times as well. But like it's just like overexposure to a certain type of storytelling that exists in Pakistan through our films, through our TVs. We by now I think हमारी like एक चीज होन हो गई है where we like expect, like you said, to be told how to feel and how to think about something. And what I loved Kamli because, you know, for the first time in a very long time, there's a Pakistani film that I'd seen that I walked out of the cinema and I found myself talking about it. You know, like how often does that happen? Like usually I'll go to the Pakistani cinema and watch something and just be like, ugh, I have a headache. Or, you know, I'll be making fun of it, you know, or laughing at it. But it's not like, oh, but what does that mean? Oh, that was an interesting thing that they did. Or, hey, they could have done that better. But, you know, it's something that's still meaningful. And yeah, Kamli is not, it's not a straightforward story. It is like a mythical, like kind of, it's not a dense, heavy, tightly knit thing. It's not supposed to be. And that's fine because film or writing encapsulates our entire world, and there's all kinds of ways to say something or tell a story out there. But I think we've just gotten addicted to that form of like, you know, bad guy, good guy, positive character, negative character. I hate these binaries so much. I like even a bunch of Pakistani interviews that I did after Joyland, they were like, so आप negative character play करना चाहेंगी? And I'm like, what is a negative character? Somebody explain to me. Why do we go like positive character, negative character? Like, so I think we're just used, like we've been, it's unfortunate, but we expect like tiny little morsels, you know, ये अच्छा होता है, ये बुरा होता है, वो बुरी है, ये अच्छा है. And if there's complexity in there, we don't know how to dip our toes in it, and we most certainly do not know how to stay with it. So
ये आप पढ़ी लिखी फिल्म ऑडियंस वाली बातें कह रहे हैं, ये तो मेरे भी पेट पीव्स हैं. I read things and then I just wanna bang my head against a wall, but then I'm also like, okay, Pakistanis aren't used to watching films. They're not used to what a film is. Like, you know, with Kamli, right? Educated people had such shit analysis. इसमें गाने थे बहुत ज़्यादा. अबे, like we've learned this word realism. Films need to be realistic, and now we are stuck in this notion that just means one thing.
Yeah.
It means so Joyland is realistic. Great, that's realistic. Kamli is not. Even though equally realistic, the fact that it has a surreal element doesn't change the fact that the feelings or the emotions or the story that's being told is just as real as anything else. दूसरी चीज़ जो है कि वो जो उसकी दोस्त है वो एक डिफेंस जाके काम करती हैं, फिर गाँव में होती हैं, इस तरह तो नहीं होता भाई. हो रहा है ना. मतलब एक अगर कोई आपको एक स्टोरी बता रहा है जिसमें कैरेक्टर गोज थ्रू अ जर्नी, लाइक द वर्स्ट क्रिटिसिज्म ऑफ अ मूवी कैन बी, इस तरह तो नहीं होता भाई. तो हो गया ना. लाइक व्हाट्स द पॉइंट ऑफ यू बीइंग लाइक नहीं ये इस तरह होता.
And also
it's somebody is telling you a story based on something that happened. Like even if it was something that actually happened to them, would you ever turn around and be like, नहीं इस तरह तो नहीं होता. नहीं भाई उसके साथ हुआ है, which is why it's story.
Allow it to speak to you. And also if you're going by the इस तरह तो नहीं होता bandwagon, right? I could apply that to 7 million things that come on TV. You know, like that whole, what was that thing that became a big meme? There were two twin sisters, and then I mean, there's
cousin orgy.
And then there was this other ridiculous mini series that so at Puffball sometimes we're very vela, but also we like study like Pakistani content. So there's this web series that we saw like in a day. कोई काम नहीं किया हमने सिर्फ बैठ के देखा, which was a TV drama / mini series जिसकी पूरी कहानी was just एक husband है married to his wife and they were dating before they were married, but then after marriage he realizes कि इसके बाल curly हैं, and then ensues like all kinds of just misery and just fighting and like all kinds of horrid things, but just because, and she didn't even, I have curly hair, okay, she did not have curly hair, she had wavy hair, beautiful wavy hair, but she's like tum straight baal, tumne mujhe kaha tha ki tum straight baal hai tumhare paas straight baal nahi hai, and then she's like, there's a whole story about how she goes to her friend and then she's like, no, I'll hook you up with a photographer, and the photographer is also confusing. Here's the other thing about like our Pakistani stories, the messaging is so confusing. Like I think they really screw with our minds, because if there's a hero, the stuff that he says is so confusing. Like he's nice and he's almost woke, but then on the other hand, he's doing and saying a bunch of really awful things as well. So this photographer guy who was, you know, talking to this girl with wavy hair, going like, no, you are beautiful the way you are, and I will capture you, you know, in your true beauty, and then you can take these pictures back to your husband and whatever, I will help you, you know, like embrace your womanhood. But then he's also like, you know, blasting bunch of like makeup on her, and it's just confusing. And but yeah, so that web series exists, and it had like I don't know how many views, and I was like, really we're gonna write a whole series about how one man feels cheated, absolutely cheated in life because बीवी के बाल wavy, like
हम इस मुल्क में ये क्या डिस्कशन करें कि कोई स्ट्रेट है या क्या है, जब बाल भी स्ट्रेट होना ज़रूरी है. हम लोग इतने फंडामेंटल हैं, बट लाइक बाल भी सिस होने चाहिए, स्ट्रेट होने. Cisgendered hair.
Cisgendered hair.
Only thing that's possible, but that's just our society, right? Like in the minds of the writer, वो मेकअप करके अगर उसकी तस्वीर ले लेता है, he just becomes a hero. There are a lot of these old Indian movies where if a girl is sexually assaulted, the courts are like, तो अब आप शादी कर लें. And that's seen as a heroic tale कि आपने क्या इतना
like some guy comes in and he's like मैं तुमसे शादी करूँगा.
No, it's some guy assaults the girl.
Right.
The girl goes to the court.
Right.
And the court says कि the punishment for the guy for assaulting this girl sexually is now you will have to marry her. And that's seen as like a fairy tale ending कि सब सही तो हो गया कि उसने उसको assault किया था और अब इसने हमने इनकी शादी करा दी. Isn't that the perfect solution? And in terms of how it's being written or the people who are writing it, they genuinely see this as a feel-good story. Ke, oh, it all worked out for them.
That's really grotesque, man. That's really great. We had a Pakistani movie tackle this subject as well, and I was equally grossed out by how that film tackled it. I will not take names, but we all know.
Varna.
So, and the thing that blew my mind was, you know, I'd read and I'd heard some interviews as well where the creator of the film was saying, you know, this film was a product of several years of research. And I was like, really? That's what you end up writing after several years of research? Like how?
I think it's the male gaze that's the problem, right? It's written with a very, I mean, dekhi nahi hai, but even based on how sensationalist the promotion of the movie was, I felt it was very like a guy being like, मैं बताता हूँ ना क्या मसला है और क्या solution है. Yeah, like so many of the films that come out, even like a lot of, to be honest, I hate like social message films that come out. Like it's so ridiculous. There's a recent film that was supposedly about male infertility, but I mean it wasn't doing anything for the cause. It was just making fun of it even more. It's just a tiny part of the whole film. The rest of the film is still about the same stuff, like शादियाँ and ये और वो, and it's just. इसमें मैं आपको एक और perspective दे दूँ. Have you seen दोस्ताना?
The Priyanka Chopra. Yeah.
उससे पहले एक थी कल होना हो. So in Kal Ho Na Ho, the have you seen Kal Ho Na Ho?
Wait, remind me which one is it?
Kal Ho Na Ho is where Saif and Shah Rukh Khan are they're just.
Is it the one in which Shah Rukh Khan is dancing and then he dies at the end?
That's every Shah Rukh Khan movie.
Oh,
right? Shah Rukh Khan dances and dies is like 10 of his movies.
No, that's
Dar, Bazigar.
Oh gosh, I haven't seen it.
No, Kal Ho Na Ho is New York wali yaar, the Brooklyn Bridge.
The Preeties.
Jo tumhe pure dil se.
I haven't seen a lot of Hollywood films.
अच्छा खैर तो उसमें Saif and Shah Rukh keep getting caught in these situations where it seems like they're more than friends, and this Masi walks in and she starts shaking. Oh, they're doing something. And this Kanta Behan goes and everybody laughs. Then there's a movie called Dostana where these two straight guys pretend to be in a relationship.
Hot lady, yeah.
अब woke take इस पे ये है कि ये देखें, they're doing nothing for the cause, whereas something like Made in Heaven does a lot more for the cause.
What's Made in Heaven?
It's this web series by Zoya Akhtar. Amazon पर है.
Okay, I haven't.
Because it's subtle, it's nuanced. But then on the flip side, a Made in Heaven doesn't get made unless a Dostana gets made, unless a Kal Ho Na Ho gets made. So even though Karan Johar is criticized for sort of making jokes about this, similar to how Friends is mocked that Chandler's dad was a cross-dresser and that's the butt of the joke, or Ross's wife is a lesbian and that's the butt of the joke. But the fact that there is mainstream representation and normalization of this, वो दरवाज़ा तो वहीं से खुलेगा ना. So one can criticize that the portrayal is not perfect, but unless a Dostana gets made and this becomes so normal where हो सकता है कि अक्सर पाकिस्तान में लोगों को पता भी ना हो कि अच्छा गे होना भी कोई चीज़ होती है. Then you watch a movie like Dostana and you're like, wait, ये क्या होता है? So it's still progress from where we are, and if we put a lens of today on those things, they might seem problematic. But I am very cautious of taking things from the past and saying, oh, they're problematic according to our time. Some things are problematic according to their own times. Like
all times, actually.
Shit Marlon Brando pulled. पर अभी की sensibilities project करना भी थोड़ा अजीब है. So in a market like Pakistan, अगर male infertility पे चीज़ बन रही है और उसमें थोड़ा comic elements भी हैं, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I think it's still fine.
Maybe I'm being presumptuous about the creators, but I feel like it's just.
कौन सी movie है? पाकिस्तानी है?
Yeah.
तो तुमने देखी है?
The one that has oh gosh, पर्दे के पीछे क्या? I think that's what it was called. The Hania Amir and I don't know the rest of the people.
I still think by Pakistani standards, I think there's still something better. And देखी नहीं movie specifically, so I can't comment on the content. But the fact that they're talking about it, like कोई फाद मुस्तफा की बहन थी जिसमें वो कोई मूवी थी जिसमें उसकी बहनों कुछ उसकी बहनें हैं ना मूवी में कि बहनों की शादी नहीं हो रही होती. It's still those archaic concepts के भाई की responsibility है and
right.
But still some progress for Pakistan.
I don't know. I'd rather that we just not pick up a social issue and try to make a film about it. You know, like why do we have that impulse? You know, we're gonna say something really big about an existing social issue. Why don't we just begin with smaller stories, like just smaller in terms of like consequences or stakes or scale? Just like I feel like that's where we should begin with, because.
So मेरी theatre history की class में नापा में first year जब students हर जगह से आते हैं, all I'm doing is plays don't have messages, plays have ideas. Plays don't have messages, plays have ideas. That's all I say the entire first year. I think as long as people are not being prescriptive or get stuck in that messaging trope, and they're just telling stories, they're fine. They're fine, even if they are, because woke crowd के भी तो मसले हैं कि oh ये देखें इसने इस तरह की बात कर दी, is problematic. Yeah, because that's a problematic character. A problematic character will say problematic things, right? So like even अगर Joyland में कोई terminology use करता है which is like it's problematic, like I'll use it just to tell you that these words are problematic. कोई किसी को खुसरा बोल रहा है, it's wrong 100%. लेकिन आप अगर दिखाना चाहते हैं कि ये character कमीना है इसलिए ये lafz use कर रहा है, that's completely all right.
And also, I will say, like in Joyland, it's not always used by characters in the film who, you know, purposely kind of being assholes towards the Khwaja Sara character in the film. It's also Nuchi, character played by Sarwat Gilani. You know, Nuchi and Mumtaz are kind of having this little moment where Mumtaz reveals to Nuchi that, you know, because Nuchi thinks that, you know, she says to Mumtaz, your husband's spending so much time with this woman, you know, that, you know, aren't you like a bit iffy about it? And Mumtaz goes, no, because she's not a real woman, right? And so at that point she goes like, oh, she's a khusra, right? And so in that moment she's not trying to be like derogatory or mean. It's just in her mind, because she belongs to a particular kind of socioeconomic background, wokeness uski zindagi mein nahi hai. That's not something that she ascribes to, knows about, cares about. That's just a term that she genuinely like understands those people by. So she goes like, oh, that's what they are, right? And to be honest, like I remember I was using this term not many years ago. I didn't have that awareness or understanding. I just thought this is a term that is just used. No awareness of like the underlying connotations or meanings or any of that. So I feel like, which is also a really interesting aspect of the film, in that, you know, it captures all of these things. It doesn't at any point, it's not like, it doesn't go very hardcore on villain, bad people, you know, doing things to like good people. It's like very grey, which I like about it. So,
which is what a lot of people have a problem with, right? Like somebody was like, oh my god, all you people who like Joyland, it's literally promoting infidelity. And I'm like, how is it promoting it? मतलब उसने कब बोला कि आप भी करें, ट्राई करें, बहुत मजा आता है. This movie was sponsored by
brought to you by
infidelity cheating.com.
Yeah. Gosh, no, I mean, I feel like if I start talking about
go.
But no, as in during this whole process, we just saw and read and heard innumerable things that people thought this film was about, and just it was very telling. It was amusing but also heartbreaking, but also just very telling about the things that people were picking out in the film and going like, ye cheez galat hai, ye cheez kharab hai, or assuming that this is what the film is. It was very telling for me. It was like a human anthropological study that I was.
Cast members को directly phone आता था या Illuminati SIAM के through पैसे भेजते थे?
नहीं, it was like a top-down operation. So yeah, that's how it happened.
अगर ये उन मौलवियों ने clip निकाली ना, सिर्फ ये 4 seconds.
I would not be surprised.
Proven. Evidence.
No, it was really, it was like.
This podcast is also sponsored by the Illuminati.
I have to say, these posters look very Illuminati to me, okay? I have to say.
Psychedelic.
There are these triangles, okay? And there's this spirally stuff, and this is definitely an eye and a red eye, so.
Technically, a lot of Muslim art is also like this, because interestingly, we're not allowed depictions of human beings na. Yeah, it's looked down upon, even though it was done for many years. Usme nahi padhte, which is why a lot of Muslim architects and Muslim arts have gone so deep into patterns and geography, because they can't show humans coming back, reading the criticism. Yeah,
it was just, I don't even know where to start, man. It was all kinds of things. It was stuff like this, like what you said, Gates, promoting XYZ, and then Pele, there was a whole chapter of, okay, a film can talk about things. It doesn't necessarily mean, you know, promoting, like depiction versus promotion, that whole argument. The thing is, like, it felt a bit weird to be doing this, because I know that these are concepts that people understand. They know this because they watch this on TV, like a man slapping his wife around, or, you know, men being assholes, or.
But वो तो promote कर रहे हैं.
Really? Like people, like.
But उसमें, because the prescriptive at the end is के सब ठीक हो जाता है ना. So like a movie like Thappad, where the woman's like, no, this is something that's wrong. Makes sense. But in our dramas, most of them, मर्द है, मारता है तो प्यार करता है ना. तुम बर्दाश्त कर लो. Our dramas,
there are some
do tend to be prescriptive in many ways.
Yeah. I mean, if you watch this film, if you watch that's the thing. If you had seen Joyland, you would have realized that, you know, I mean, I hate even saying this and, you know, reducing my own film to this stupid idea, but like, it's really not. There's no glamorous, happy ending in this film either. People face very real consequences of their actions. But yeah, so there was this whole debate कि अगर आपने ये दिखा दिया, you must be promoting it. And so it's like, no, but like that's not what a film is. Film is a snapshot of things that happen, and things like these happen all the time. And it's what you choose to say about it or how you talk about it that is what matters. So there was that. Then there was even more ridiculous stuff, like there's this one person who on Twitter, I discovered Twitter.
The worst thing in the world.
Twitter, I wasn't on Twitter till this whole stuff with Joyland happened, and then I was like, hang on a second, I have something to say, and then everybody's like, you should make
stupid.
it. So I made it Twitter. Lots of people,
slap them.
But and then I made a Twitter, and I realized the temperature on Twitter is just always boiling point. Like why does Twitter have no chill? Like
it's the saddest people in the world who have a microphone, and who live hateful lives, and rather than looking in the mirror and doing something better, they're like, अच्छा ये क्यों तरक्की कर रहा है, right? Just the Joyland shortlisted for Oscars. a lot of Pakistanis start hating themselves when they read something like this. They're like, अच्छा ये हमारे साथ मुल्क में रहकर ये कैसे वहाँ पहुँच गया.
मेहनत की है यार.
वो ये नहीं देख सकते ना किसने ये किया उसने वो किया है. I mean like even जो वायरल होते हैं कितना हम नफरत करते हैं. Somebody like Dananir or that girl who did that.
You're right.
Because people are just like ये dash यहाँ कैसे पहुँच गया. Whereas I'm still living my shitty life. So people achieving things makes people feel shittier about their shitty life. So what they can do is be like, okay, if this person did it, that's so inspiring. Let me also do something. But instead they go, okay, no, there must be a problem with this person.
Yeah.
मेरे साथ थोड़ी को मसला हो सकता, मैं तो perfect हूँ.
Yeah, but
तो फिर वो they just start cutting people down on sides.
Yeah,
and
it's like a constant shouting match. Like if I'll scroll like thoda sa and I'll be like, everybody is just being mean or sassy. Like why? Anyway, so I
please delete Twitter.
I don't plan on I don't use it very much. I only use it to talk about Joyland things or like some of my work. That's it. I don't scroll on it from like I did no desire, but because I had made Twitter for all of this stuff, so I was on it for a little bit and I was like kind of watching stuff that was being said about the film, good and bad and all of that, keeping monitoring it for my own sake. And so there's this one gentleman who was like, I'm exposing this film. I will tell you, this is true exposing of films. I was like, okay, what do you have to say? So I clicked on it. And it was hilarious, but it was also ridiculous because it was so wrong. Like he didn't, like it was all just all over the place and so wrong, factually incorrect. But there was stuff like there's the scene in the film. I feel like we should announce like spoilers or something at some point.
मैं सोचा कि at the end we'll just all the spoiler questions will be like last 15 minutes के लिए.
Okay, well this is not riddled with spoilers, but anyway, so there's a scene in which Mumtaz and Nuchi, they go to Joyland, which is an actual theme park in Lahore, and they're just taking a ride, and he taken a little screenshot of that and he was like, lesbians in the film. And I was like, wait, why would he think this? Because really the scene is, if you've seen the film, that scene is just two sister-in-laws who leave their husbands, children, families behind. Actually, no, they go with Nuchi's husband. So one of the husbands is there. He's just not on the ride, right? But they're enjoying a fun-filled ride on a pirate ship. जिस पे हम सब बैठ चुके हैं, जिस पे हर किसी की pack होती है because it goes really high. And they're just yelling and screaming and having fun. And one of them's really afraid of heights, so she's clinging on to the other one. Nuchi's clinging on to Mumtaz. And they're just having fun. It's a moment of like abandon. And this man was like, exposed because lesbian. I was like, really? Like it's just like, in your view, you think there's something aberrant about this scene or these people or these women having fun or them being this close, and so you impose your stupid viewpoint on it. And I was reading that and I was like, yaar, jaake dekh lo film, and there are all these other people who of course hadn't seen it because at that point it hadn't come out and who just believed it. Or like, this person who has not seen film, who has used L word, it must be true. And so hate.
ये जो British accent पे इस तरह की videos बनाते हैं ना, उनका we should satirize them. One of them should come on and be like, ये जो है मैं इसको खोलता हूँ अभी, इसके अंदर lesbianism है, इसके अंदर nudity है, इसके अंदर और चीज़ है. Oh wait, ये तो मेरी internet search history थी. sorry गलत ब्राउजर खुल गया था. ये तो उसके
anyway,
actually the reason that bothers a lot of people is because I think what patriarchy hates the most is women friendships.
Yeah.
Patriarchy
or female happiness or female purpose or
patriarchy
meaning.
benefits from this notion ना कि औरत की सबसे बड़ी दुश्मन औरत है.
Yeah.
देखें अगर मर्द असॉल्ट करता है तो उसकी माँ है ना जिसने उसको बड़ा किया.
Yeah. Yeah.
मतलब ये भी एक माँ पे जिम्मेदारी जाती है कि अच्छा नहीं कोई दूसरा इंसान नजर आए ना तो उसको असॉल्ट मत करना. ये सबक माँ ही नहीं सिखा रही पाकिस्तान में. देखें हम सकाफत हमारी कहाँ चली गई है.
Yeah.
ये भी नहीं माँ सिखा सकती बच्चों को अपने.
Yeah. No, you're right. There's a lot in this film that's like, to be honest, I personally feel like there's a lot in this film that your average Pakistani audience that thinks a certain way or is used to seeing certain types of female-male representation on TV or whatever would have found a lot of things to be mad about in this film, because this film is very truthful in its portrayal of all truths that exist in Pakistan, how we treat one another, how we are to one another, how we treat men as fathers, how we treat wives as husbands or father-in-laws, how we treat, like widowed women and what we expect of them, and how we treat minorities. There's a lot in it. This film does not shy away. It doesn't say it in like a hammer on the head kind of way, which I think is one of the loveliest things about it, but it's brutally honest, and so I knew that hazm karne mein ye film mushkil hai, because we want to uphold that illusion ke nahi actually sab theek hai और ये एक दो कोई लोग होते हैं या चीज़ें होती हैं, अनफॉर्चुनेट है, बट वैसे तो हम फिट है एज अ नेशन, एज अ पीपल ऑफ फेथ, कोई मसला ही नहीं है. वी वांट टू अपहोल्ड दैट इल्यूजन, एंड इफ अ पीस ऑफ आर्ट कम्स इन एंड लाइक shatters that illusion for you, you're going to be uncomfortable, and you're going to be a bit like what's going on. And I understand that, but then the things that people clung to, जो सबसे ऊंची like आवाज़ें थी of like opposition against the film, like, and then the way that it just like was co-opted entirely was, and the kinds of people who were also the forerunners of that movement, it was all like, really, this is a circus. This is really like, if you want to critique the film, let's sit down and critique the film, right? I understand your anxieties based on this film. I really do. I would, but you're not talking about that. So yeah.
इसमें ऑब्वियसली मैं बोथ साइड नहीं कर रहा ये इशू. जो राइट वाले हैं वो जानवर हैं, वो अपने क्लिक्स के लिए औरों की लाइव्स एड्रेस करते हैं. यू कैन नेवर कंपेयर दैट टू कैंसिल कल्चर और एनीथिंग लाइक दैट, बट यू आल्सो फील लाइक पीपल who were supporting you sort of to get some clicks on their own YouTube made the movie a lot more contentious than it actually was. The movie just wanted to be shown and wanted to just be a movie, but certain people to be like हम flag bearers हैं अब इस movement के और हम ये करेंगे वो करेंगे. They also hurt the cause by promoting themselves.
Yeah, and that happens with a lot of movements generally. Everywhere, even in Pakistan. But yeah, wo bhi ho raha tha, and I was also a bit like, even publications, by the way, the way that they were covering this film, like publications here, definitely publications abroad, you think you're helping the film by writing about it and trying to explain it or explain the heart of the film, but you're really not, because if you really, I feel like, this is a separate debate altogether, but I feel like as an artist or as a creator of something, this is not my idea, I'm borrowing this from one of my favorite authors, Elena Ferrante, and she says this so much more eloquently than I'm going to say it, but if you've put out a piece of art, you shouldn't have to step up and talk about it and explain it. It's there. You read it or you watch it and you'll understand exactly why somebody wrote it or what they want to say through it, or whatever meaning that they've entrusted into that piece of work that they want you to take away. It's there and you should engage with it. Questions like their biography or what the kind of life that they lived, unka bachpan kaisa tha, and all that does not matter, right? And that shouldn't cloud your engagement or judgment of that piece of work. Questions like, why did you call it Joyland? Irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. Don't worry yourself with those kinds of things.
I have theory.
Okay. I mean, there are theories to all of these things, but like it's interesting to sit there and like mull over this, right? But I would really want to live in a world where somebody writes a book or makes a miniseries or makes a painting or whatever, and they don't have to write the artist, description which to me personally, every time I'm in a museum and I read the thing which is supposed to like, or a gallery, and it's supposed to explain the art to you, I'm like, so I feel like I would like to live in a world where we don't have to do that. But, you just watch any interview of Saim, who's creator of this film, and he would just beautifully distill it into something very simple, which is that it's a story about longing and loneliness and love, and that's it. No gender, no nothing of the sort. It's a snapshot of our society, and that's about it. So, but it's unfortunate, like everybody just got very hyped, the people who wanted to take it down, the people who wanted to support it, and then it got kind of out of control. But then it played in cinemas, and then that was just it was such a lovely beautiful period after this whole horrible period of like ban the film and stuff like that, because then people went and watched it, and then they showered us with like so much love, and it was so lovely because people were, I also understand this. Sometimes I think about, sometimes like at festivals, I kind of wish that I was on the other side, like, because we were there with Joyland, right? And we'd be on stage and we would screen the film and then we would answer questions. But I wanted to be like the one audience member who is living in some random country and they show up because there's a Pakistani film coming to town and they don't know nothing about it. And then they watch this Pakistani film and they're like, what? This was made in Pakistan? This is lovely. This is beautiful. The way it's shot, the way it's written, the way it's acted, blah, blah, blah. And so now I've forgotten where I was going. So I know that people back home were really, really looking forward to watching it, and they did get to watch it, and then they really liked it, which made my day. And so I feel like a lot of that trauma of that week is just like expunged out of my system, which is great. And now it's playing in France in cinemas, which is excellent. It's playing in 84 cinemas, which is like what? And in it's the second week of it playing in cinemas, and in week 2 we're drawing in the same amount of crowds that we were in week 1, which is excellent. And it's going to release in the UK very soon in February, and then inshallah like more great things will follow. So
that's great. Lots of ideas. मैं Brooklyn Bridge पे एक documentary देख रहा था, उसमें Brooklyn Bridge where somebody said के the only thing matters with art is how did it make you feel. That's it. Simple. That's the only thing that matters at the end. But that also I think goes back to something that you said कि Joyland क्यों है, जिस पे मेरी theory यही है कि I think we don't allow joy is such an alien emotion to Pakistanis, right? 100%. Like that you were talking about कि LUMS के बाद भी graduate चले हम एक बहुत elite privileged sense में ये बातें कर रहे हैं, but even we feel that weight कि what do you mean you can just do it for yourself, right? So if I'm doing a comedy show or you're acting and you're enjoying it and you're getting paid for it, you're like नहीं ये तो मैं कुछ गलत कर रही हूँ, एक गिल्ट आ रहा है उससे कि ये क्या मैं कर रही हूँ. Even कल ही मैंने एक I learned of this idea called miserable leisure. And I was like ये तो सारा मेरा leisure ये होता है कि even if I do nothing on a Sunday I feel horrible on a Monday. Because my leisure was miserable. It's still laden with that guilt of कि मैं joy कैसे feel कर सकता हूँ. How can I do things more for myself? Let me just fix something. Let me just do some work so that I'm useful. Something
of value.
Yes. So that just कि ये क्यों कर रही हो? ये मैं अपने लिए कर रही हूँ. क्या मतलब अपने लिए कर रही हो?
Yeah.
So वो इतना हमारे लिए alien concept है. So I feel why it's called Joyland is when you two are on the pirate ship. I think that's the only moment of unbridled joy that you feel in the entire movie, and it goes back to you at the start, जो prologue scene है, where you laugh out loud and you're like, wait, कोई मुझे सुन लेगा, because हम औरतों को ये भी बोलते हैं ना कि खुल के नहीं हंस सकते. Like even in your own home, women are not allowed to laugh because ये पागल है औरत जो जोर से हंस रही है, ये तो जरूर कोई डायन होगी, Salem witch trials पे इसको बेच दो.
That's also because like it's in the middle of the night and she's, you know, if she laughs really loudly she might be caught off.
But she's laughing really loudly on that pirate ship where because of the pirate ship there's no male gaze. There's no society, and you can shed all those things of eyes on you and no private space and two women just being friends and just laughing out loud. It's the only moment of, I think, pure joy that your character feels in that movie.
Yep, 100%.
And that's your Joyland.
That's a faulty theory, but no, I agree with what you're saying about joy. It's such a precious and wonderful thing. And you know, growing up in Pakistan, आपको कोई नहीं सिखा रहा होता और कोई नहीं बता रहा होता कि यार बच्चे आपने अपनी ज़िंदगी में ना इस चीज़ को prioritize करना है. Like no matter what age you're at, no matter what relationship it's in, whether it's at work and what you want to pursue in your life, whether that's, you know, the whatever time that you have left outside of work and how you should structure that, or in your marriage. Like joy is something that joy and love, we don't talk about them, we don't prioritize them. And you were talking and like I thought of this scene from a movie, and then I was like, I should talk about it because I don't know a lot of movies, but also because it's so relevant, because I saw Gully Boy, again a really good movie that I hadn't seen, and I was like, everybody's talking about it, I will watch it. And there's this one scene that I saw and it almost made me cry because it was so good. But
कल ही मैं उसका soundtrack सुन रहा था.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. What was I doing I was writing something about Pakistan. So there's this one track called Azadi Hakmari. I love that track. तो मैं वो सुन रहा था बार-बार, फिर मैं बोला पूरा jukebox सुनते हैं. But खैर, what scene?
So it's the scene in which Alia Bhatt's character is having a confrontation with her parents. I think they've found out that she has a boyfriend, right? So वो उनके घर के अंदर होते हैं, वो लड़ रहे होते हैं आपस में, and they're like, you know, तुम पढ़ क्यों नहीं रही हो, पढ़ाई पे focus करो, ये करो वो करो, क्या तुम कर रही हो, फजूल हरकतें साइड पे. And then she goes like, you know, क्योंकि मुझे पार्टी करनी है, मुझे फन करना है, you know, like I want to be able to step out of the house and just hang around, मुझे fun करना है. And then she gets whacked across the face. And I was like, that, not only because like I could personally relate to this, because growing up, you know, like how many times in the week do you hang out with friends was such a thing. Like it should be a kal kya matlab, you know, it should be once in a week. It should be, I don't know, you need to send in a memo 3 days before. And constantly, like, the idea of fun was something that was frivolous and meaningless and like fazool, and it you know, like you could only do it so many times, and it would be considered excessive. It was an excess if you were doing it like twice a week or thrice a week. I'm speaking from personal experience. So like there is that guilt that even I have now to this day, where I'm like, oh, but is this too much? Like if a Sunday I don't go do anything and don't meet anyone, and I'm just lying around on a sofa reading a book with in the right kind of sunlight coming in, like, is this excessive? Or if I'm meeting, like if it's a weekend and I went out and met somebody every single day, I'm like, wait, am I like an avara person? You know, like it's strange, but we just don't prioritize that. We don't prioritize joy and love in our in our lives.
Things that I enjoy, like for instance reading, right? I'm like, इससे सेल्फ इम्प्रूवमेंट होगी, इससे मेरा स्किल बेहतर हो जाएगा. लेट मी जस्ट टेक नोट्स बिकॉज आई एम नॉट रीडिंग फॉर फन. आई एम आइदर लर्निंग समथिंग और आई एम लर्निंग द क्राफ्ट. लाइक मैं फन के लिए नहीं देख रहा. मैं लिटरली नोटबुक खोल लेता हूँ कि अच्छा ये मैं मूवी देख रहा हूँ तो मैं से मुझे कुछ दिस इज स्टिल वर्क फॉर मी. एंड इवन कुछ क्लिप्स कभी कभी वायरल होती हैं कि यूनिवर्सिटी में फैशन शो हुआ एंड पीपल आर लाइक स्कूल को इन लोगों ने डैश खाना बना दिया है, ये बना. भाई वो कितना पढ़ेंगे यार. Like so like if you're at LUMS, we live at LUMS. We live you were a day scholar.
I was a day scholar but I hacked the system, so I was kind of a day scholar but a hostelite. So
तो खैर मतलब अगर मैं कराची से गया हूँ, मेरा घर वहाँ पर है, तो मैं कितना पढ़ूंगा यार. तो कुछ तो करूँगा ना मैं शाम में. तो कोई गिटार बजा रहा है, कोई कुछ कर रहा है, बट फॉर द आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड यूनिवर्सिटी कैंपस में ये फैशन शोज
अनसीरियस बिहेवियर इट शुड.
क्या करो, पागल थोड़ी है कि स्कूल से आए फिर होमवर्क करें फिर क्लास लें. जितना बाहर से लोगों को लम्स मुश्किल लगता है उतना मुश्किल नहीं है एक्चुअली. बट या जब पीपल थिंक वेट यूनिवर्सिटी के अंदर ये चीजें.
Yeah, but that's the time that you have, man. Like that's the time. Uske baad to everybody expects you to like, you know, have this or have this kind of routine or that kind of a job, and then you have to earn for yourself, but also for your family, and like you have to start working in a way you're building a career that will like evolve into something for the university is the only time that you have to just get it all out of your system.
And so I think the people who've done the best in their lives from my batch are people who did the worst during LUMS. जो 3-4 बजे आपको झाड़ियों में से मिलते थे कि अच्छा तू यहाँ का पास आउट हुआ. they're doing the best in life. and people who said कि हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे वो पागल हो गए हैं क्योंकि उनके अब बच्चे हो गए हैं and वो टुमारो लैंड पे हैं. and people are like, you have a child, why are you tripping at Tomorrowland?
With because the child?
No, they left the child, Europe trip, akele.
Well, maybe they're just maybe.
That's fine.
Yeah,
that's fine. But it's also a lot like, oh, I didn't get it out of my system when I was young, which I think people need to.
Yeah.
And चलें ये तो Tomorrowland कर लो, party कर लो. But जो भी आपकी responsibilities हैं, there are people who it comes in the way, right? It comes in the way of your normal responsibilities if you're doing these things after a certain age, and it affects your life. So I feel like people who didn't do it at the right age, वो फिर कोटा पूरा करने के चक्कर में जरा अपने आप अपने हाँ even when LUMS happened, people who came from the most conservative backgrounds वो पागल हो गए थे पहले 2-3 महीने में. They're like ये क्या दुनिया है, अब तो मैं पूरी रात पेप्सी पी सकता हूँ. तो
there is something very freeing about that particular kind of campus life, the way that it's arranged, the kind of, you know, facilities that you have, or like the atmosphere generally. It's and apparently it's now it's gotten even more fun.
Yes, it's gotten even more fun.
More fun.
Usually हर साल लोग बोलते हैं कि हमारा बेस्ट था हमारे बाद खराब हो गया.
No, I think like that's what I've heard. Like I recently went back because there was a I think we were screening the trailer before the film had come out. We were screening the trailer at LUMS. So LUMS had invited Simon and I. I think it was no, it was Drats, I forget now. But I was sitting with Ali Khan, who is a dean of the humanities school. So he was मैं उनसे गॉस ले रही थी, तो he was like नहीं आप तो funny fun is campus पे. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I wish I was there when it was like that. But
हमारे टाइम भी बहुत फन था. हमारे टाइम कम लोग थे ना.
What was your batch वैसे?
I was Shehzad's batch.
2011.
Technically, I was 2011, but I graduated 2012 because
Law
I'm
school.
BLLB. Yes.
Fascinating.
What batch were you?
2016.
You did some play ना. आहद ने डायरेक्ट किया था.
Ahad ने तो नहीं किया था. Ali Khan ने किया था. But I did Moulin Rouge. Yeah. Moulin Rouge.
देखें the wars we fought, how they benefited all of you. मैं जब LUMS आया था तो ड्रामा लाइन एक MBA सोसाइटी थी और वो ड्रामा नहीं करते थे, वो ऑर्गेनाइजिंग करते थे.
What? Get out.
Dude, फिर हमने ये फड्डे डाले. We're like, ये MBA का ताल्लुक क्या है? Because the idea.
MBA.
The MBA program.
No, I know the MBA, but what
ran drama line, and it was run as like an organizing committee कि हम ड्रामा फेस्ट ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, इसका प्रॉफिट ये होगा, टेंट आएंगे आएंगे. थिएटर करने में उनका कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. कोई 2-3 साल से शायद एनुअल प्ले भी नहीं हुआ था उसमें. एंड देन ऑन was our senior, and I think freshman year में I was the only member of drama line in my batch. And on then became the first president. वो 10 batch का था वो, of which is the first bachelor's president of drama line.
Wow.
And then slowly we were like, भाई theater करो, workshops कराओ. I think पहली workshops मैंने कराई थी जिसमें ये सारे लोग थे. Ahad, then Maria, I don't know, Umar Sheikh, Umar Farooq,
right.
and then these lot then expanded drama line.
Did you end up doing a play when you were there?
हाँ हम लोगों ने फिर annual plays revive किए.
Yeah.
And we put the focus. We started going to festivals, which never happened. कि LUMS की टीम जाएगी.
Yeah.
I'm sure अभी कुछ somebody is like 1997 में मैं LUMS में था और हम तो करते थे. I'm sure करते होंगे. But by our time ये चीज़ें नहीं हो रही थी. So it's so happy to see these things happen because these are the fights that we had to fight when we joined drama line.
You single-handedly, yes. Only you, Shehzad.
No,
that's what he's saying. Only him. He has enabled all of this. He's the one to bring this about. Just you. You just want credit. I know.
मैं तो क्या नहीं.
You just want.
पर आप दे रही हैं तो मैं ले लेता हूँ. ये भी मैंने थेरेपी में सीखा है. कॉम्प्लीमेंट दे रहा है तो कुछ ले ले. नहीं.
What else have you learnt in therapy, Shehzad?
ये चीज़ें मुझे नहीं बोलनी चाहिए ना. ये चीज़ें आपके सीनियर्स बोलेंगे ना. उनसे हम टेस्टिमोनियल्स लेंगे. No. Let's come back to your LUMS experience. So were you already doing theatre and plays? Yeah.
I had been. I just started with school plays and things like that. So I'd been doing it for some time. I think I started taking it a bit more seriously when I was in Beacon House in Islamabad, and we had these two drama teachers. They were twins, Fatma and Faiza. And they वो बहुत intense चीज़ें लिखती थी उस point पे, English में लिखती थी. And like the one thing that they'd written, the first thing that they'd written that they asked me to come audition for was like this treatise on like 7 sins and 7 virtues. बहुत मुश्किल अंग्रेजी थी. Like I remember there's this one word, what was it that I couldn't pronounce for the life of me at the time? Inexorable, right? And I would call it inexorable, and they'd be like, it's inexorable. I'd be like, okay, but like I didn't know half the words that were in there, right? So I think they'd done literature in their own time, and so they'd written this beautiful thing, and they were casting for it, and I was in 8th grade or 9th grade, I forget. And I went to the A-levels building, यहाँ पे auditions हो रहे थे, and I read in front of this room full of people, and I was like just so nervous, but I did it. And then I think we took it to like a LUMS event. कोई था Olympiad था या किधर, I think it was an Olympiad. We took it there.
Drama Fest.
Perhaps, I don't remember. And they were the ones, like one of them, Fatma, was the one who said this to me. One day, I don't know, we were rehearsing in school, and she came up to me and she was like, you have great stage presence. And I had no idea what the hell that meant. So I was like, stage presence? Like, doesn't everybody have that because you were present on stage? Like, what does it mean?
It's turned into swinery.
So they really pushed me to, and then every school that I went to, because I hated auditioning, it would make me so nervous. मुझे उल्टी आती थी, but there would be one instructor, usually a literature instructor, who would be like, no, you will do it. And so I was in A-levels here, and there was a play that was going on, and I was like, I don't want to audition. And then she dragged me, like, koni se pakad ke. And it was a play that, what was it called? I think it was called Scapin's Deceits. It was a French play. And the character of Scapin was actually a male character, and they auditioned boys, but they couldn't find anybody because it's a very complex character who is a super conniving person, and then he plays different families off one another, and he impersonates people. So he's playing like 12 people at the same time, and they couldn't find a dude. And my instructor Zara Abba was like, you will audition, and so she made me audition, and I got it, and I did it, and it was a lot of fun. And then I kept doing theatre, and yeah, I don't even remember what your question was, but that's pretty much how I started acting. Yeah.
आपकी journey के बारे में था, since you had a problem with me talking about myself, I was like, let's turn the spotlight on her. देखिए मैं ही हूँ जिसने कुछ नहीं अचीव किया, वरना हमारे ड्रामा लाइन के प्रेसिडेंट ने मलाला से शादी कर लिया.
Oh, really?
Asar Malik was the Junaid Fazal was the drama line president before him, and then Asar Malik was the president. And now Asar has married Malala. तब तक मैं ड्रामा लाइन से ostracize हो चुका था. तब तक मैं बैन हो चुका था.
Why were you banned?
ऐसी प्राइवेट बातों में मत पड़े.
No, tell me, what do you mean? This is the real spice. Tell us, why were you banned?
मुझे भी नहीं पता actually. पता नहीं. I think because I was running my own theatre company, and they were like, ये parallel चला रहा है.
Conflict of interest.
हमारे बच्चों को अपने पास लेके जा रहे हैं, and that sort of stuff. Where I was like, अच्छा, I'll do my own thing.
Severe politics.
Yeah. हाँ man, I was above all of that. As you know, मैं एक saintly which is why I've brought this up 15 years ago. I have not forgotten all of the hurt that you caused me. All
boy.
Oh
boy.
So then Moulin Rouge happened. How was that experience?
It was how was I don't remember. It was fun because I was at that point I was really obsessed with Nicole Kidman, and the fact that I was playing Nicole Kidman's character was like, oh my god. So it was fun. It was like a musical. Nobody really sang, which I mean I wouldn't have been cast if it was live sung because I can't sing. But so we were just like lip syncing, but I committed to the lip syncing. Okay, like I real committed. Like I feel like I could make a career out of just lip syncing because
मैं अगर भी Moulin Rouge का गाना बजाऊं तो
I feel like I'd remember most of the words because oh gosh.
कहाँ है मेरा phone? Which song do you want?
Any.
I feel like that uncle. दोस्त आए हैं बेटा.
बेटा गा के दिखाओ बेटा. No, this he has a beautiful voice, you know, beta. Which one are you gonna play?
You tell me, na.
There was Roxanne. There was the one at the end, the one that she does at the end before she dies or he dies. Who dies? I forget. The one that happens at the end.
Should do Lady Marmalade though.
Oh, we didn't do Lady Marmalade because it was, you know, it was
LUMS.
Yeah.
Nature Boy.
No, not Nature Boy. That was his song. The one that happens at the end. Oh boy.
Scroll kar lo.
Come what may. Come what may.
We've forgotten that this is a podcast with an audience, and we're just like,
yeah.
Demonetized तो नहीं हो जाएंगे हम इससे?
Possibly.
I mean, we're just playing the music, right?
Is that the song? I don't think that's the song.
Come what may?
Is that the original? Oh yeah. Feel like this. I'm gonna sound so bad.
You don't have to sing now. You have to lip sync.
Oh right. I know her part. Does she have a part?
कोई नहीं है आप लोग जो सुन रहे हैं कोई
anyway. Drats! I need to practice.
This was a severe disappointment.
I will practice and then
we will make this TikTok later, much later, और यहाँ पर हम insult कर देंगे. इस तरह edit करना के लगे live अभी इसी podcast studio में हुआ था.
Listen, there were people in the audience and you can ask them. I was good at the lip syncing, but I don't. I mean, this is also many years ago. Okay, I was 20.
It's just a joke.
Oh, good guys.
Did you do theatre after LUMS?
Yes, I did theatre after LUMS. I was living in Lahore. I joined a theatre company. Then we did bunch of. I forget what the name was, but it was like a bunch of these oldies like Nadia Afghan, Umair Rana, and a bunch of these other people. So I did a few plays with them.
Real entertainment is Umair Rana.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think that's what it was. And so I did a bunch of plays with them, and then I did a play with Dawar Lashari in the middle as well, which was my first commercial play. And it was cool that happened because through that play, like I think Kaval Kusut and she came in, she saw the play. And Iram Appa, who's her, they co-started Olma Polo, which you know about, of course. And so they came and they saw the play and they really liked me. And then they called me into Olma Polo and they were like, well, we're there's a teleplay that we've written, and we'd love for you to be in it. That Sana's in it as well. The only gripe that I have with Kawal Khusat, who otherwise I love, is that she's cast me in things that she refuses to release. So I have like projects that nobody has seen, except for a few people in India, because it played Gid, which is the project that I was talking about. Played on
Z5, no?
No, it wasn't on Z5. It played on. It was supposed to be on Z5. I don't think it ever actually came out, but it was going to play on their different television channels, and then it was supposed to be released on Z5. But it's funny because recently I got a DM from somebody from India who had watched Joyland, and they said that, you know, I saw Joyland, you were really good, etc., etc., and I've actually seen you before because I saw Gid, and they would have seen it on their TV. And I was like, somebody's seen Gid? What? And they're like reaching out to me. So, and then we did I did another thing with Kawal after that, which was actually a much bigger project. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Maya. But it's like an adaptation of Shokala, the film with Johnny Depp and what's her name?
मैं तो chocolate बोलता था उस movie को.
Maybe.
मैंने तो सारी जिंदगी chocolate
I don't know, but it's
बोला
actually
भाई.
Shokala. But it's an adaptation of that, and she's
हमारी
changed.
chocolate पे तो इमरान हाशमी था भाई. हमें नहीं पता. हाँ वो नहीं देखते हैं abusers की मूवियाँ.
A minute ago you were talking about not cancelling people, but anyway.
I am pretending to be somebody else. This is why there was an accent. Satire.
Terrible. But so Maya, so that's a fantasy world story that actually has, like, I don't know, we were about 50 plus cast members, because it's a whole village that she created. She and her team, like, they had these beautiful sets, like set in some ancient zamana, and so it was like a tavern as well. Then there's a chocolate factory, chocolate shop, and then like houses and all of that, and gorgeous sets and gorgeous costumes. And we shot that with her, which is actually, uski live footage turned out to be like 4 hours long, like the shot footage, and she just has to like edit it, and like she has a plan for releasing it. But I've done two things with her that have not seen the light of day, so I do have that gripe. But it was a lot of fun working with her and the whole Olmo Polo team. And now I'm doing a play with them, which is actually coming, we're taking to Islamabad, which was written and directed by my co-star from Joyland, Ali Junejo. Both sit in silence for a while. Yeah, almost
scattered all around. Scattered all around.
Touché, my friend. Touché.
Both sit in silence for a while.
Both sit in silence for a while. Both sit in silence for a while. So we did that in Lahore, then we did it in Karachi. Now we're taking it to Islamabad on the 10th, 11th, and 12th of Feb. So that's also with Olmo Polo Media. So we're just going to start rehearsals for that in a couple of weeks.
Nice.
And then bring it for one day to Karachi again. So I'm excited. Yes, you haven't seen it yet, right?
No,
it's March 5th. So please do come.
But
please do come.
For sure done. And Saim just knew you from LUMS.
Yeah, so
लोगों ने वहाँ पे एक movie की थी.
Yeah, एक short film की थी that he was making when he was applying to Columbia, I think. And so we did that. So he knew me. And Beachma, I think he reached out for another project, but because I was in that phase of my life where I could only do the one project in 3 years or something like that, and I couldn't take out time to go for rehearsals or the shoot or anything, so I said no to that. So we didn't do, so then we kind of fell out of touch, and then we reconnected at some point, and he shared the script of Joyland, and then I did it, but I was the last person to be cast. So for a solid like 6-7 months or something, I thought that the film had been shot and wrapped, because I'd heard about it for some time. So yeah, but then...
So uska kya audition process tha, or was it like we're offering it to you?
Well, by the time that they reached out to me, it was just a month left to shoot. Oh. So they didn't have a lot of options. So Simon was like, please do it. And I was like, okay, I would love to. I always wanted to. So, because it was, I'd read the script from before, and I knew him, I'd worked with him, I knew everybody else, I knew the rest of the cast, and I was like, if this could be my first feature film, I would be the luckiest girl on earth. So I said yes, like that. And then
amazing. So phir, you all met at the table read. How was that?
That was really fantastic. It was really, really... just really lovely. I was meeting like Salman Pirzada and Sarvat for the first time. Sano, had I met Sania Said before that? I think I'd met her before that because she had come to Gid ki shooting, and we'd even though Maya was shot after Joyland, we had rehearsed a little bit of it in the summer of 2021, and Joyland was shot in the fall of 2021. So I'd met her a few times, but I was really excited to like work with her, because I had like 1 or 2 scenes with her as well. So she was there, which was lovely, and it was really lovely. We had a short rehearsal period, but I had a lot of fun. During that time, just piecing it all together, working on chemistry, just acting again, to be honest. Like it was absent from my life for a while, and I was just missing it a ton. So it's good fun.
So process बताएं मुझे, आपका script आया. How do you attack? How do you look at the character?
Well, with this particular thing, it was just reading it several times, several times, and then also identifying like the 1 or 2 main strains in her life. So her relationship, Mumtaz's relationship with Heather, was very important, and that was like the foundation for both of them in this story, because you stray away from it, but then you come back to it as well. So a lot of their क्या कहते हैं, their own individual personalities and how they are to other people also has to do with how they are, what they've built with each other. So that was a very important thing, and this is the first time that I was meeting Ali Junejo, and I'd just heard a lot of things about him, which were all like, he's the best theatre actor in Karachi, and he's very exacting as a director, and even as a co-actor, and etc. etc. So I was very nervous. I even texted him. I was like, I'm really nervous. But he was really just generous and kind and humble about the whole thing. And so we just spoke like endlessly. Our WhatsApp chat was just like talking about Mumtaz and Heather, and building like even the things that were unsaid in the script, just like trying to piece it all together. Who they are, how they met, what do they bring to each other, what is like the core of their relationship for them, and how much do they reveal one another to each other, and think so like important questions like that, just figuring out an answer to those things. And I like the one thing that was kind of rattling around my head for some time was this time jump that happens with Mumtaz after at the beginning of Act 3. So Act 2 ends when she comes back from, spoiler alert, when she comes back from the train station, and she has that confession with Heather where she tells him, you know, we're having a baby, and that whole thing happens, and then there's a time jump. So I was really nervous about that time jump, because then you spend 1 day with her and then she's gone. So I was nervous about that, because I was like, you know, what would have happened? You've been following Heather very closely up at this point, and from here on the camera is going to shift a little bit, and you're going to spend more time with Mumtaz. But what if it's too jarring? What if people are like, you know, like just 1 day, like there's a 9-month or 8-month or 7-month gap? What's happened in that time period, and what's going on, and what would they have spoken about? Like they've started spending more time together because he's quit his job at the Mujra Theatre. So, and you know, they're coming together ostensibly after a big kind of divergence. So like what do they do? And she's pregnant now, and she would have, you know, become more and more kind of visibly pregnant over time, and she feels a certain way about her pregnancy. So does she talk to him about it in the way like perhaps they would have before, but now this thing has happened, you know? So just questions about their relationship that we went over several times. And so that's a lot of conversations with him, and then some conversations with Sime, particularly about her fate, and then just jumping into it. Didn't have a lot of rehearsal time, like I didn't, because I came in right at the end. But usually it's just reading something, trying to identify where the heart of the story lies, and then writing down some, you know, questions that I have from the story, from the character, and then from the point of view of the character, and then trying to come up with the answers to that, and also realizing that not all questions will have answers, and that's okay. So yeah.
When you move this process from here to like here, from your brain to your body,
when do I?
When?
Rehearsals. It begins in rehearsals, and then also like in alone time before I get onto the set, and then first day on set, it has to come together, and then usually whatever shape that it's taken by the first or the second day of set, then it just kind of solidifies over the rest of the duration. And like that, I mean, costume has to play with that, but it's also just your understanding of who this person is, how like their corporeality, I guess, or just like how they are with their body, or how they understand space or time or movement and all of those things. It just kind of, it's not, I don't think I think about it consciously. It's just, it usually, whatever decisions that I made about this character, like informs those things in a subconscious way, and then it just comes together. I don't really subscribe to the philosophy that you need to like write down how your character would walk, or how do they sit, or how do they in that you do need to be thinking about all these things, but instead of approaching it directly, like they should be informed by your general kind of work that you've done on them and their person and who they are and what matters to them, and etc., etc., etc. So yeah.
Do you do that general work and then play with the lines, or do you also analyze the lines? कि मेरी tactic क्या होगी, मेरी intention क्या है? Do you attack it line by line, or is it just like मेरे पास एक general sense है scene का and let me walk into it and play?
No, it's the latter. It's the latter. I feel like I think I used to do the former thing when I was younger, which is like line by line, what does each line mean and how should they be delivered, like a very like focused kind of approach to these things. But then I realized that I was kind of limiting my own self from like exploring or letting something happen organically. So now it's just, I'll read something and obviously you have an idea of like what somebody's motivation is, what somebody's intention is, what the conflict is and all of those things. And then hopefully if you have a good scene partner, which I did in Ali Junaid and Sarwat Gilani, we kind of left that room open to also take it, like let it go where it's taking us and also improvise. So like if you have that chemistry, then you can't ask for anything better.
And on the day of the set, do you guys do a dress rehearsal? Do you guys then
you do
Saim
a CR,
in, or do you do a
CR, which is like I think Saim was cautious of over rehearsing, which I thought was I really respect that, and I think we benefited from that greatly. So we would just. Everybody would do lines, khud se, before or on set, and then we would come in, we would do a CR, and he'd tell you a little bit about like what he wanted from the scene, or a little bit about like movement, but then he was allowing us to like do whatever we wanted, and some things would be written in the script as well, obviously in terms of directions and stuff, but it was very fluid, which was good fun.
So any ideas that you have and you're like, acha main is tarah try kar lu, happens on the day of the set?
Yeah. Like barring like some really critical scenes or moments. So I know that even with Heather's arc and Biba's arc, those conversations were had for like some really seminal critical moments in the film. With me, I had like we spoke about or rehearsed certain things that had to do with like Act 3 things as well. But most of the stuff you would just show up on set. He's very accessible on set. He will be like, "Mujhe ab agar hum scene karne lage, har koi samne se hat jaye, I will be there for my actor, available for them if they want to talk over something in between takes, whatever it is." So he was just accessible. So we just try different things, and then beech mein kabhi wo aake kuch kehta tha, like some feedback or the other, or then if I felt a certain way, I would go to him, contest some idea or whatever, and then we'd arrive in some kind of middle ground. And so yeah.
And how is the mood on the set? Because kabhi heavy scenes ho rahe hain, knowing all the people, I can't imagine ke somber mood hoga. I'm sure you guys are still having fun on set.
So, funnily enough, it was most of the times the mood was really lovely, very chill, lots of fun. People if you have Sana Jafri on set, anything is just like hilarious and also kind of half mad. So, but also Saim. And so, as Saim as a director, on set was just very chill, very approachable, warm, fuzzy. So it was never never a tense moment that way. But because I was mostly like when we were shooting at the Rana house, those were where most of my scenes happened. And I think the heaviest day on set, spoiler alert, was obviously the day that she takes her own life. And it was actually, that whole sequence is in two parts, right? Because there's a funeral scene, which is also a very heavy day, and then there's the day that she takes her life. So we shot the funeral scene before we shot the bathroom scene. The bathroom scene was my second last day on set, and my last day on set was actually a really fun day because that was the day that we shot her parlor scenes. So she was at the parlor, just like being ace and, and just being like a really likable, funny, competent person. So that was a lot of fun. So we shot the funeral scene before, and I remember I went up to the costume room. They dressed me in this like loose cloth type thing. I was supposed to come downstairs. Gavel was supposed to do some makeup on my face to kind of reflect like a dead person's body. And I remember I was sitting in the courtyard and of the house, and there were all the crew people were also seated next to me because they were preparing a room inside the house for the funerals, the bathing of the body scene. And I was looking into rude, extremely rude. That's it. I'm leaving. This is just who was calling you? You have to tell us now.
Yeah, I don't want to, because this person doesn't realize ke 5 consecutive missed calls nahi dete.
Oh.
And subah when I was sleeping, I got like 5 consecutive calls.
Those people are.
And I was like, koi to mar gaya hai.
Yeah.
And it was just some PR agency. And I literally wanted to get back with like things. And then maine kuch nahi bola. But yeah, like who calls 5 times back to back?
Crazy people.
Khair.
Crazy people. Where was I? Yeah, so I was sitting in the courtyard. My makeup had been done. They were setting up lights in the room, and I was just looking. Across from me was the window that leads into Haider and Mumtaz's room, and one of the scenes has actually been shot through that window. It's when they're getting ready together in front of the mirror, and they're talking about, like she's messing around about like Sarvat's baby, and he's talking about he might get another job or whatever. So and by that time I had shot a whole lot of scenes of Mumtaz inside the room. So I was sitting there, and it's this really strange thing that happened in that I looked up and I saw the room from the window and the door, and Mumtaz as a real life character, devoid or separate from me, was like, there's this playback that was happening of like, वो वहाँ पे वो खड़ी होती है, वो तैयार हो रही थी उस सीन के अंदर, वहाँ पे वो not उस सीन के अंदर, like उस अपनी जिंदगी में वो like तैयार हो रही थी, और वहाँ पे उसने वो किया, यहाँ पे उसने ये किया, फिर यहाँ पे उसकी लड़ाई हुई, वहाँ पे वो खिड़की में बैठी थी, blah. And there was this reel that was playing in my mind. And she wasn't me. She was like a real life human being. And I knew that we were about to like just put an end to her. And there would be those days as well. Like even the funeral scene itself, which is when it's a one take. It's a beautiful one take when they bring Mumtaz's body and they put it down. And then you follow Haider, walk through the courtyard, meet all the guests who have shown up for the funeral. And he comes all the way back around, and they lift up the body, and then they take the body out, and you stay in the room with all the women. That shot, I remember they'd shot it. Simon was like, do you want to watch it? And I said, sure, like I think an hour afterwards or whatever. And we went into the small room with the monitor, and he played it for me, and then we both just bawled. Like we bawled because that scene was so haunting, because it's so quiet. You can hear like murmurs of women who are crying, but it's not like the general way in which we show like grief or mourning, which is like bah, bah, or like whatever. It was just like somebody that you really liked in the film is just gone, and you understand what it's done to Haider as well and the whole family. And it was the way that Joe had lit that scene with like the smog, and it was just miserable. This house had transformed into like this miserable empty shell, and you were following Haider around the house, and he crosses his own bedroom as well in that moment. So those scenes would happen, and then we would sit and we would cry, and they would be heavy. But then we also respected that heaviness and that grief that different people were feeling. Like the day of the bathroom shoot as well. I remember the second last day, everybody was setting up lights inside the bathroom, right? And I was upstairs. So contrary to what you said, actually, that day, just before I went downstairs into the bathroom and shot the scene, we were upstairs in the costume room. It was me, Ali, Gulshan, our stylist and choreographer, Zoya, our costume designer, Habil, our makeup person, and we were just goofing around taking pictures because I had a fake belly on, right? So I stuck my belly into the picture frame from the side, right? You could only see like a protruded thing, and we were just being goofy and silly, and I think everybody was just, without having planned it out, just trying to like lighten up the mood a little bit. So we actually did this really silly photo shoot on somebody's phone. And then I came downstairs and Simon was like, are you ready? And I said, yeah, I'm ready. And he was like, okay, why don't you go into the room for a CR, the bathroom? I said, okay, cool. I walk into the bathroom and I step in, and Joe, the cinematographer, he was like fiddling with the light, and Faiz, our sound guy, was also in the bathroom, and there was one other person, I forget, and I saw the bathroom and what Joe had done to it, because he'd lit it up in this green light that was just very morbid, and it just made the whole bathroom look like nothing could live in this bathroom. Nothing would survive. It just looked dead and deadening and deadened and all of those extensions of that word. And I stepped in and I was like, nope, because just something just swelled up inside of me, and I was like, I'm going to start crying. I'm going to start crying. So I just said, nope, out loud. I turned around and I was about to walk out, and somebody from the crew came up to me and they were like, are you ready to die? And I was like, ah! And then I started bawling. And then I found a little corner on set and I was just crying. And Simon found me, and then he came and he hugged me, and we cried together. And so yeah, we would have those kinds of days as well. And that scene was 2 shots, right? So she's sitting, she's drinking, and then Heather comes in. So in between those 2 takes as well, there was an hour long of just like lights being set up and all of that. I was bawling my eyes out throughout. And at some point, Simon had to come in and tell both of us, before another shot was going to be taken of that scene in which they're standing and talking, he was like, can you guys wipe your noses and just your eyes, because you shouldn't be crying in this scene. You're oblivious to each other's what the other person is going through, but you look like you've been crying, so can you just take this tissue and wipe your nosies? And so then we wiped our nosies and we pretended like, we hadn't been bawling 2 minutes before. But sometimes it would get really heavy, but it was always like you could always walk up to somebody on set and talk about it or find some kind of comfort or wholesomeness. So yeah, the rest, most of it was hella's fun though. Lots of fun.
Since I'm already spoiler zone में, समीर जब chapters बना रहे हो, इस section के start और end में spoilers
बहुत
लिख
बड़ा like screen के ऊपर
spoilers लिख देना. सबसे ज़्यादा यही सवाल है. Why did she?
I feel okay. You know what? I feel like if you feel the need to ask that question, then you haven't been watching the film. You can't have been watching the film. No, but it's funny though, because I remember being in Melbourne. We went for a festival and we showed the film, and then screening we answered a bunch of questions. We came out and we were walking. There were a bunch of people from the audience who were coming up, just saying nice things and wanting to take pictures. It was all very lovely. And then I was accosted by these 3 women who were like exuberant and very happy with the film, and I loved that. So they came up, they were like, hi, hello, we love the film. And I was like, oh, thank you. And then the next thing they said was, why did you kill yourself? And there's 2 weird things about this for me. Like, they don't make that distinction between like, why did Mumtaz and not you? So it's a bit like, like it penetrates somewhere inside and it stings a little bit. But then secondly, I was like, it's all there. Like, she crumbles just like every other character. She crumbles right in front of you. And sure, it's not like in your face type of, but it's all there. If you feel the need to ask this question, then like go watch the film again. I refuse to answer this question. I really do. This is my only diva moment throughout this whole podcast.
It's like being killed by a python, right? वो शुरू में आपको लगता है अच्छा ठीक है, सांप आ गया है, and then slowly all breath is taken from you till you can't breathe anymore. I
feel like you can sit here and you can give like an entire answer to this question.
मेरा तो काम यही है ना, मैं तो 2 साल की जो मैंने डिग्री जलाई है, वो a lot of times मैं लोगों से बात कर रहा होता, I'm like, this really connects to that theory. Like for instance, this scene I think also speaks to the general invisibilization of women in our society, because a lot of people also don't get that. Like सामने तो है, उसको नजर क्यों नहीं आया? And like that's exactly the point.
There's also something else that somebody said. I can't give the whole context of this story. Maybe I'll give it off camera. But somebody said, it's so funny. And he was a man. And he was like, but why did she kill herself? A moment before in the last scene, she was running around. She is so happy, she's cackling, she's laughing. Then in the next scene, she, what is this? And I was like,
I mean, वो भी काफी manic scene है वैसे.
That's the point. That's the point. Thank you. 10 points to you.
Gryffindor. But उसमें a lot of people, because of that scene and the sort of the commentary on that scene in the movie is कि भाई मतलब बच्चा है, pregnant है, गिर जाएगा.
Yeah.
I think what some people make that connection is she wasn't killing herself, she was trying to kill the baby, और ज़रा OD हो गया, which I don't agree with at all. हाँ, ये काफ़ी लोगों ने. नहीं,
there's the other thing, the one thing that I will speak about, and I would like to put an end to this line of questioning once and for all, is whose baby is it? Okay. I don't know if you got that question or not. Did you get that? Wow. Okay. Well, there's so many theories on there, right? And this was actually part of the whole criticism of the film, right? By the people who really wanted to just shit on it.
Censored version तो नहीं देखा. Uncensored में क्या हो रहा है भाई?
No. This is
uncensored version में कुछ और है?
No, it's just people were just confused, and a lot of people were like, this film is also promoting like two types of infidelity, because on one hand he is having affair, Heather Biba, and then Mumtaz and Salim, because Salim is the brother of Heather, right? Older brother. Because people just assumed that the baby is Salim's.
Which is insane, right?
Wait for it. Then there are other theories as well.
But the guy in the street is not Salim, right?
No.
Well, I think that's what people mistake, because when you're looking down, sort of Salimish body का बंदा है जो गली में होता है.
But then he also says that, he's
Salim
talking
comes.
to his... Yeah, and then Salim comes in the same scene. Yeah. So
I mean, Salim's not the only one coming in that scene, but
yeah. But so three popular theories. Well, this is the most popular one, right? Which is that it is Salim's baby. It is not Salim's baby. The other thing is it is the baby of the guy in the alley, right? Not his baby at all. And the third thing is that it is the baby of the dude who bangs into Mumtaz at Joyland, right? It is not any of these men's babies. It is Heather's baby. So I just want to put that out there once and for all. It's not like a lot of people are like, nahi, the thing like
plot twist, it's Sarwat's baby. Sarwat's actually a man in that movie.
Don't do that.
If you didn't get that, I don't know what movie you're watching.
Next level Inception stuff that you're doing.
Muchi is actually a man, which is why she recognizes Biba. It's like, ये तो मेरे साथ थी. हम दोनों की गुरु है.
Don't believe him. Don't. Anyway, no, but also listen, chronologically it doesn't make sense, because before Salim comes in and catches her spying on the man, and before she meets the man who bangs into her in Joyland, she's already pregnant because she's thrown up by that point in the bathroom. So she's already pregnant, and also it's not the film's character to have these like plot twist things in there. It doesn't. The film, that's not its character. It doesn't do those kinds of things. It's very, yes, there are a lot of silences and unsaid things, but everything is there for you to take or not take or whatever. It's very apparent. So it's not supposed, it isn't, and it's not supposed to be a question that you kind of go, whose baby? Like, it is Heather's baby. So yeah, just.
मैंने भी time देखा यार.
145.
लोगों के बहुत ज़्यादा सवाल थे.
Oh boy.
And जो लोग spoilers नहीं सुनना चाहते थे, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast.
Oh boy, that's a big chunk.
She taught at LUMS Young Writers Workshop. Ask her about that too. How did she get into writing?
Well, I just like a childhood like penchant, I guess. Always liked it, did it. When you got to know Bilal Tanveer, who was hosting this writers workshop, and he asked me to mentor it, and I did, and it was for 2 years, and it was a brilliant experience, because we had writers from all over Pakistan who came in, made a lot of friends, made a writing community, which is what you need a lot of the time. Sorry, I keep bumping into this. So it was quite lovely. Yeah.
बहुत अच्छी एक नापाकी एक्टर हैं किरण सिद्दीकी. उनका सवाल है, how does she approach her character and fits her skin so well? Does the choices she makes portraying her character more intrinsic or crafted? Kiran, as you can expect, मैं काफी detail में ये सवाल पूछ चुका हूँ.
Yeah.
But any thoughts?
Yeah, no, what I said, and also, I mean, the character, by the choices that they make and how they are written in the film, obviously have an effect on you, but then you also have an effect on the character. So it's like a dual relationship that way. That's my only answer for now. I feel like the rest
it's where the person meets the character. I think मैं भी उससे subscribe नहीं करता जो बिल्कुल method acting है कि lose yourself. No, you find the character somewhere. Had somebody else played it, they would have done a different job, and that's fine. Sometimes we think कि बस एक ही सही character portrayal है और ये इंसान कर सकता है. In a landscape where we continuously crave new art forms, censorship plays a major role in what can and cannot be watched. Is there a way to maneuver through this thorough politicization of art?
Oh boy, that's an intellectual question.
Sajid Sheikh का सवाल है.
Oh, right. Is it Sajid or Sajid?
अगर मैं सजीर का नाम गलत लेता हूँ ना तो फिर तो आई थिंक मुझे कैंसिल हो जाना चाहिए.
What is it?
Now you've confused me.
Oh,
so
gosh.
I don't know.
It has a double E.
I say Sajir. What do you say?
I said Sajid.
तो सही कहा नाम.
Oh, अच्छा. I thought you said Sajid. And I was like,
No.
Okay, this gosh, man, I feel like I don't think I've understood the question fully, but I'll give it a shot anyway. I feel like with any medium out there, you can choose to make something political or not, and but also it's not a yes or no answer either. I feel like if you are immersed in your world and you're trying to say something about that world through your piece of art, whatever that is, song, music, film, documentary, whatever, then you are saying something about it, and to a degree it is political. And I think I do subscribe to the worldview that you should say meaningful things. I don't subscribe to the view that you should make fluff. I think enough fluff is being made, so in that way your work can be political, and if it is, to whatever degree, it can push some certain boundaries, and it can say something that needs to be said in a way that is palatable for everybody. So with Swipe, for example, it was a film that was saying some really difficult things to digest, because we were taking on things like, the narrative of religion or culture or values or whatever, how it's making the space around us like more and more circumscribed, or ideas of like what is a good Pakistani, or what is a good person of faith, all of those things, like just narrower spaces, and outcasting more and more people, or not just outcasting them, but also then creating a threat to their life, but we were taking on these very big things, and in that way it was a political film, but we were choosing to tackle it in a sensitive way, in a tender way, say something sincere about it. So in that way, I feel like if more and more people, you can choose to say, thorny things, but just tackle it sensitively, tenderly, authentically, and sincerely, and that should be good generally.
Everything's political. Existence is political. Matlab, if you choose not to make something political, that's also political decision.
Trees are political.
Trees aren't. किसी ने गवादर पे एक vlog बनाया about how खूबसूरत it is. Now that person's like, oh, this is not a political statement, but it is, right? Because you're choosing to cover these things while a huge protest is happening. So you're ignoring that while promoting this false notion that the elites would like you to promote of Gwadar. So you think it's not political, but it's the most political thing in the world to do. Yeah. Is there pushback from within the industry when it comes to underdog films that manage to amass approval internationally? Yes. Next.
I mean, I don't know about pushback, but I think the one thing that I did notice was there was just not a lot of support. I don't know if that qualifies as pushback or not, but I would have hoped that there would have been more. We had some big names kind of really use their like platform or voice or whatever to vocally kind of support the film, but there was also a lot of silence. And then I was like, well, for a film like Joyland, really, that's broken all kinds of records, that is actually good, I don't understand that. So
आप इस तरह की बातें ना करें, मुझसे करवा लें, मैं वैसे ही ऑस्ट्रेसाइज रहता हूँ हर जगह से, आपका करियर अभी शुरू हो रहा है. बट मतलब अगर एक फैशन डिज़ाइनर और एक alleged domestic abuser are invoking religion, तो आप खुद सोच लें कि क्या motives हो सकते हैं उन लोगों के. I'd also love for her to weigh on the portrayal of female friendships as a form of solace in Joyland, and how that went against the oft-repeated idea that औरत की दुश्मन होती है. थोड़ा बहुत हमने discuss किया.
Yeah, we did, and also I fully subscribe to this idea, and I thought Joyland did a beautiful job of it, and I think there should be more of it. I think the one thing that almost everybody who's seen the film talks about is this dynamic between Mumtaz and Nuchi, and it's beautiful and it's wholesome, and it's not because they're so similar, like they share life goals. It clicks
because they're lesbians, no? That's the most ये नहीं था क्या? I thought ये तो obvious था, ये मैंने Twitter पे एक tweet देखा था.
You are just the demon. But anyway, continue.
The pirate ship is a metaphor. मैं बता रहा हूँ सरवत का बच्चा था.
Fueling the fires.
What drew you to the script of Joyland in a particular, especially Rasti? Did a connection to the character draw you in, or did you feel intrigued as an actor by the unique way Saim layered the character's motivations with nuances? इतने like
I feel like ये सवालों के अंदर जवाब है. I would just want to say yes.
इतने पढ़े लिखे कभी सवाल नहीं आए. Usually आते हैं, what you do, how your journey. Now it's like based on Saim's layering of characters
and the nuances and the
What was the general vibe that you and the rest of the team felt after the film launched with such heated controversy, considering it is still banned? Was it in Punjab? Was it honestly a sense of relief, slight disappointment? Did you feel the stark contrast between the local and international reception of the film?
Again, a whole essay. Yes. It was different in that, we never even got to have a premiere of the film in Pakistan because of the events that unfolded. We were robbed of that opportunity, which really sucks. We couldn't have screenings, which sucked, and we were used to just having the film play in a big cinema and then talking about it afterwards, being there, all of that. And just a general like profuse warmth that was showered our way. And so in that way, it was starkly different. But also we weren't shocked either. We knew that, the film would be kind of taken with a pinch of salt, or just people's discomfort with the film. We anticipated it and that was fine, but then we also did what we didn't anticipate was like a whole campaign around the film with all these random ass people kind of being the forerunners of it. So it was disappointing, it was disheartening, because this film really is so special in what it's done, but also at its core as the story that it puts forth. And so it was disheartening, but like I said, then it played and then it was incredible because people loved it. So it was a bit of everything. Yeah.
Who among today's actresses and actors do you admire as an artist?
Me, myself, and I. No, I'm kidding.
And Irene.
Actresses, I would say, again, I don't watch a lot of Pakistani things either, but I used to really love Amna Sheikh, but then she stopped acting. I thought she was really good. There was something charismatic about her. I've seen clips of Hadika Kiani in a drama that she did. I thought she was refreshing to watch. She was believable, and most people aren't believable. Like Maheen pe, I give them -0 marks, so -0 marks. And so Sajjal I've seen in 1 or 2 things, and I think she's good. I think who else?
Sabah Qamar.
Sabah Qamar is good. It was surprising actually, because in Kamli, especially in the scenes in which she didn't say anything, I was drawn to her. Like, I was just drawn to her face, and I was watching her throughout, and she didn't have any lines, and I thought that was pretty extraordinary. Nadia Jamil, Sania Said, love them.
I thought Sabah's friend in Kamli also did a really good job. Iman Shahid thi na, I think.
Oh, Iman, yeah. Iman
really
is a friend. Iman is a good actor and a beautiful singer. Beautiful. I've seen her sing live on stage. Everybody thought it was taped, because you can't believe that that's somebody singing live. But yeah, actor, dude, people's nobody. Only Ali Junejo, because he's best. But yeah.
Ali Junejo ne Aquas kiya tha.
Yeah, I missed it. I didn't see it.
It was so good. Nazar sir was also excellent in that. And I think that's Sunil Shankar's best work.
Yeah, Sunil, yeah.
How would you describe Mumtaz in 3 words?
I would say... Oh, God. I would say feisty. I would say brave. I would say loving.
Bilal Hassan, Mr. Paki wants you to know you were amazing. Oh. What's your dream role?
What's my dream role? I would want... Okay, my answer from 5 years ago would have been... So many of my friends would hate me for disclosing this, but for a long period of my time, one of my favorite films was Transformers 1. Primarily because
one shall rise and one shall fall. What I've done, erase myself.
Anyway, but no, it was because there was a scene, okay, and I know it's really problematic now, all of that, but like there was a scene in which Shia LaBeouf like runs, right, and he runs better than Tom Cruise. I just want to put it out there. And so I was like, I want to be in a film in which I have to run like that. Okay, so that is one of my dream projects, where I want to be able to run like better than Tom Cruise and Shia LaBeouf combined. But also lately I've been thinking I want to be able to do something in which I learn like a skill that I have no idea about, like archery, or like, I don't know, like martial arts, or a different language, or something challenging like that. I'd really love to do that.
Hawkeye Hunger Games में आप audition करें. Did Mumtaz have gender dysmorphia? No. Right? Yeah. जेंडर रोल्स और जेंडर डिस्मॉर्फिया में थोड़ा फर्क होता है. देयर इज दैट एलिमेंट ऑफ जेंडर रोल्स, राइट? लाइक इवन शुरू में जब वो बकरा मैं काट देती हूँ, तुझसे नहीं होगा.
Oh, no, like we can explore a whole more about like where that comes from, blah blah. But no, yes.
Who inspires you?
That's it. That's the question.
Yeah, who inspired you?
Where? What part of my life? Generally?
Generally.
Gosh, I've never thought about this.
You've never thought about who inspired you? Shehzad Ghias.
I remember.
मेरा जो स्टैचू लगा हुआ है ना ड्रामा लाइन की सोसाइटी के बाहर.
I would sit in front of it and I would stare at it and I would salute it every day. No, I remember being a kid and being asked who are your heroes, and people had like answers like "Yung jawab."
And you were like Optimus Prime. We've been sent to Earth to protect.
But no, I didn't have an answer because I just didn't have an answer. So who inspires me? Animals do. Dogs in particular.
Aisha Chundrikar. Okay. Challenges faced by newbies in theatre.
In theatre, man, it's a really strange question. It's you don't get paid anything, and so you're trying to like, do the thing where you do what you love, and then but it doesn't support you in that way, and then that takes away from the love and the passion that you have. So there's that thing. Also, like there are not a lot of good scripts that are being worked on, especially not in Lahore. Maybe a little bit in Karachi. Aapko अच्छा काम नहीं मिलता, and just I think a little bit like generally that spirit of like a theatre space, like everybody is equal footing, like wo wali cheez bhi thodi si missing hai. It's always like, oh, but wo veteran or ye or wo. I wish there was less and less of that. Some of them, yes.
Why isn't her Instagram visible? It is आप blocked हैं. Because Instagram तो public है. अगर आपको नहीं दिख रहा तो आप blocked हैं. मैं भेजता हूँ यूजर नेम इसका चेक करें.
Oh god, oh goodness, yeah. I don't want to be on Instagram, by the way. I just want to put it out there. I hate it. It's miserable. It's absolutely miserable. But anyway.
It's so much better than Twitter.
Yeah, that's true.
Reels देखे ना आप, you just, and by the way, have you seen the cartoon Transformers movie?
No.
From the 1980s.
No.
It's the best Transformers movie that's ever been created. And also has the best soundtrack.
Oh wow.
Of any movie that I've ever heard. थोड़ा मैं ज़्यादा हो गया, but Hans Zimmer से बेहतर. No, dude, like watch that.
What's it called?
It's called Transformers.
Really?
It's the hot rod wali. I don't think it's called anything else. I think it's just called Transformers.
I'll check it out.
But it's the best Transformers movie ever made.
Oh
and
wow.
अगर वो सिर्फ copy paste वो script ले लें, it'll be the highest grossing movie of all time. Maybe not, but that's how I feel. Will she ever consider stupid Pakistani drama industry? बहुत loaded सवाल है.
No.
अरे यार कर लें भाई.
नहीं.
अच्छे projects भी होते हैं.
नहीं.
How triggering was it to do the last sequence?
It was very heavy. It was very heavy. I went to places that I never thought I would go to. Also, like one of them being, for example, like the aftermath of the last scene, which is there's a scene which, spoiler alert, Heather and Nucci are bathing Mumtaz's body, and they'd covered me up in sheets, and I was lying there, and I was kind of just like, there's no scenario in life other than actual death in which you will be conscious, but lying there, like wrapped up in sheets, and you're thinking, oh, I've just been bathed, and you're on a patta, and it's a tiny room, and then there are people crouched next to you, like that doesn't happen to you in normal life. So I was lying there, and I was like, wow, I would never have been in this position other than actual death, but then I wouldn't have been conscious. And so I was lying there, and I was like, this is what it's going to be like if I were to actually die. Like instead of Sarvaglani playing Nucci, it'd probably be my mother here, and sort of El Junejo playing Heather would probably be my sister, and they would have bathed me just now, and they would be sitting here watching me just now. And then I inversed it, and I was like, oh, I've never actually bathed anybody who's passed away. And then I was like, oh, so this is where X person that I know would be lying. And then So it was just, it wasn't easy.
Since spoilers ही हो रहे हैं, एक और spoiler question यही है कि there's a specific scene where Mumtaz's body is being carried and a little girl starts throwing flowers on it and she's reprimanded and told it's supposed to be done later. I wanted to ask if any thought was given to this particular scene. Was this done to indicate how that was a celebration in itself because she was freed from suffocating an invisible life she led? Just want to know her thought process.
Well, I had zero thought process in that scene because I wasn't even in that scene because like that a random filler body on that bed in that particular scene. I wasn't there when it was being shot, so I can't speak for Syme's thing. But I think, so I don't know if I should even answer that because I feel like I'll say something extra that's not a part of the thing. But I don't think it was. I doubt Syme would have thought about it as like.
But if you thought about it, that's equally valid, right? अभी उस वक्त जब हम बात कर रहे थे आर्ट की, उसमें थिएटर ऑफ द ऑप्रेस्ड में ऑगस्टो बॉल का एक आइडिया है कि स्पेक्टेटर्स जो होते हैं वो स्पेक एक्टर्स होते हैं. सो व्हेन यू आर वाचिंग, लाइक यू सेड, वंस इट्स आउट, it doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the world.
Exactly. So you can choose to think of it that way.
So if you choose, that's what you got out of it. It's equally valid as what Syme intended. Had Biba not existed in Heather's life, do you think him and Mumtaz could have made their marriage work?
I've thought about this. And I feel like, with all of its holes and silences, because they exist even before Biba comes along, in that they have a beautiful connection and a lovely friendship, and there's so much care and love for one another, but there's also a little bit of, they haven't fully revealed each other to themselves, and there is a little bit of distance as well because, you know, their intimate life is a big question as well. So I feel like that would have still continued, but that kind of instinctual love and care that they have for one another would have meant that they would have stayed together and maybe even had a child together. Who knows? Maybe.
Why was Mumtaz agitated during her ultrasound? I guess that's part of the process thing.
I mean, again, like if you were watching the film, you would know.
What's up with the mole? What's the story?
Man, there was a whole ass story. There was a story with the mole, but it got cut out because we Syme did test screenings.
How did you feel? You're like, मैं हर रोज ये लगाती थी और इसका context हटा दिया.
It was quite miserable, man, because like it's Pakistan, so you can imagine how that mole was applied to my face every day, and the mole changes size. Changes size through the course of the film. So it's not like एक size के आपने 25 बना दिए और हर दिन वो बस, you know, it's like you had to figure out what the size is supposed to be in this scene or not. Random kind of method to do that.
मसला आ गया, मोल छोटा बड़ा हो गया.
Exact. That was an actual thing that happened several times. So you'd have to go and I'd have to go and remove the thing, and my skin it had an abrasion on it because वो बेचारी सड़ गई थी वहाँ से because वो the glue that was used, and it was really, really awful. I went through a lot of pain for this mole, and then later found out that, you know, it was cut out. But it's just
क्या context था?
I don't want to. I will not. I will tell you off screen. I don't want to ruin it. But there was a story to it as well, and there was a monologue around it as well. But because the way that they'd shot it, it just wasn't apparent to audiences, and it was confusing them then because it wasn't a clear-cut plot line, you know. So it was confusing them, so it was taken out, and so which hurt. Which hurt. But
what do you feel about the जिस तरह अभी मौला जट पे भी माहिरा खान को बहुत क्रिटिसिज्म आया कि आप तो पंजाबी नहीं हैं. वो that's probably a different reason why Mahira Khan was cast, but I think Joyland also gets some of that criticism that you've got in Sarwat or you who are from a certain background playing characters from a certain background.
I mean, so that's the history of cinema. What are you talking about?
Believability, the people who didn't find it believable.
Sure, you can fault somebody for that. You can fault somebody for not being believable enough, and that could be true. Maybe they just haven't done their work hard enough, as hard as they should. When I watch Joyland, there are always these two moments where I go that is my accent bleeding through, and it's icky. I wince every time I hear those, and I should have just done it better. Really, that was my job. I should have done it better. And likewise, it might have been the case with other people. I haven't really heard this criticism too much. I think Ali Junejo, because he's from Karachi, he had to really kind of hone a Punjabi accent. हमें तो फिर भी थोड़ा बहुत naturally आता, like my alifs just naturally have a Punjabi tilt to them, or the way that I say some other words as well. But he had to like hone it because he's a very Urdu kind of Urdu accent thing. So he had to learn Punjabi, and he did. And I think mostly he did an okay job. So, but I mean, if people think it wasn't believable enough, maybe that's true. You can fault us for that. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, it's a portrayal at the end of the day. Yeah. People will take what they want out of it. कोई आप कौम को message देना चाहिए? कोई आप कौम को message?
The message is that there's no message anywhere in the world, especially in films and TV and all things. So that's the message. Yeah. And go watch Joyland if you haven't already seen it. It's up in Islamabad and Karachi. Yeah.
Thank you so much, and go watch both Sit in Silence for a While, which is on
10th, 11th and 12th February at PNCA Islamabad, and March 5th somewhere in Karachi.
Oh, sorry, ऐसा लगेगा बहुत ही ज़्यादा sponsored है, but ये sponsored नहीं है. Since we were talking about all of these things,
yeah,
I assumed they might be triggering for a lot of people as well. तो Karachi Legal Aid does this really good job, और उन्होंने मुझे बताया था that they have they're running a call center since 2013, which is a national helpline for any and every legal issue, 0800-70-806. So a lot of women who might be going through similar experiences and might feel like there's not a lot of recourse, especially women survivors of gender-based violence. 0800-708-06, and ये बिल्कुल sponsored नहीं है. They're genuinely doing really good work, so I wanted to give them a shout out.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that.
And thank you everybody for listening.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Shehzad. Bye.